Greetings and welcome once again to Roman of the Empire. I am your host, Roman. I have a wet lap right now, and I am very unhappy. I managed to spill my water all over myself right before the broadcast. So this would be the soggy episodes of The Last of Us, episodes 4 through 7. This is an interesting journey from Kansas City to Jackson, Wyoming, and then to Colorado. And there's a lot of twists and turns and some side journeys, which once we get to that point in the conversation, I actually expect it to maybe get a little hot because I have my own opinions about it. Joining us later will be Vex Electronica. She's got some stuff right now, but she does plan on joining us in a little bit. So with me, as always, my co-host, my brother in arms, it is Shieldwall of Dragons. How are you, sir?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Happy to be here. Yeah, it's going to be a good conversation about mushrooms and mushroom people. So
watch out for the mushroom people.
Yes.
The shrooms are going to get you.
See, I have images in my head right now, but they're wildly inappropriate, but mildly funny. So
no, the story's moving along at a breakneck pace.
There's a bug.
Yeah, it's happening right on screen. Roman,
I know
he's happening right now. I don't even know where to start. So thank you once again, Untameable, for being back with us. Despite all of that we have done to her, she still returns to the show.
I know. I guess I'm a masochist or something. I have no idea. But I mean, it's fun. I'm glad to be back. It's fun to be on this panel again, talking about the end of the world with the zombie apocalypse once again, because we all know that's how we're all going to go out.
That's true. At least that's what I've been planning for. So frankly, if it doesn't happen that way, I'm going to be kind of disappointed.
Me too. All of my stores of rations and stuff, and my stores of pew pew ammo,
I know I have my Patriot food, my Patriot ammo, my Patriot water, my Patriot adult diapers, because I'm pretty elderly. So anyway, thank you for being with us, Mando. Also with us, he's not just a fantastic content creator. He's an evil genius, and he always brings a smile to your face. It is Joker Voice. Welcome back, sir.
Hello. Just reconfirm. Stay away from mushrooms.
It's true. They're not always a delightful treat on a pizza.
But they're my favorite on the pizza besides the pepperoni. At least you guys don't like pineapple on pizza.
I would have paid money in this show if to a scene where a pizza attacks someone.
Oh my God, that would have been the episode. That would have been the episode we talked about. Now, you almost got that in the first episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian, except it was a salad, not a pizza. Anyway, so
that swamp thing done badly.
Oh, swamp ass. So what the hell, Matt? God damn it. Kombucha mushroom Matt.
Kombucha mushroom people.
I mean, kombucha is good sometimes. I like kombucha once in a while.
He's one of the great minds of the internet, and he always likes to make a name that is going to screw me up almost immediately. It's our good friend Kombucha Mushroom Matt, the unbearable 73, the fad that shouldn't be. Welcome back, sir.
Hello.
So many names.
And the reference in the name is to System Down song Sugar with the line, the Kombucha Mushroom people.
Everybody's lost right now. Everybody, help me out there. Help me.
System Up and Down, the metal band.
You had me at mushroom people. That.
I mean, technically, kombucha is just fermented stuff.
Well, no one knows what they actually meant in the line. We think sugar is about being high and just being high, but
does it really matter?
Yeah.
So with us out there in the chat tonight, we thank you for being here. Happy on
right.
40 Mandalorians couldn't take down, and it was sad. And you're right. First of all, I don't think they should have been fighting in the first place. They should have just gone to the goddamn cave, because you know what? Everybody wins there. Everybody wins. But that's
a
not for
crocodile.
another show.
It should have been the mythosaur.
Well, could that space crocodile have defeated the mushroom people of The Last of Us?
If
No.
had shown up. Actually, Mando, it doesn't matter. So not Ratu. With Roman wrestling a bald eagle on it. With this Roman or just a Roman. If it's me, I'm down. I'm willing to sponsor that. I think it'd be pretty good. Jacob Ironside, our good friend, is out there tonight. Actually, I don't have the fan set up right now. It's winter, and I don't have the fan on the nether regions in the winter, because it generally is very cold out here in the studio of the Empire. So it is what it is. I tried having the ball heater, but that shorted out the electrical system, and we all almost died. So it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
I mean, having your house burned down versus good content, and
no, you're right. It is a toss up. I have to admit, it was worth considering. But that's not what we're here for tonight.
But having your house burned down could make for some epic content.
As long as I stay here while it happens. Otherwise, it's just a waste of everybody's time and effort. That's the last of the tequila, boys and girls. I'm a little bit sad about that.
Oh, the devil water.
Water.
So well, I bought Mistress of the Empire. We're gonna have a brief aside tonight, just like The Last of Us tends to do. Mistress of the Empire a couple days ago was like, I could really go for a margarita, and I'm like, all right, we're not gonna use the crappy tequila because I don't like crappy tequila. So
Simpson's voice for your wife.
That's how I hear her. I don't know what she actually sounds like, but that's what she sounds like to me. So we go to the store, and we're looking on the shelves. And she's like, "Well, you usually like to get that one if we're buying tequila." And I'm like, "All right." So I get the expensive bottle of tequila, and we get some lime juice, some organic agave nectar, a couple of limes, and we throw this thing together. This tequila goes down really smooth. Because how you're drinking a good tequila, it doesn't taste like tequila. So now I'm down to like that much left, and the question, of course, is, did you drink all the tequila? And the answer is maybe. So anyway, it's actually all Mrs. of the Empire's fault.
All I got out of that entire thing was your wife sounds like Marge Simpson.
That's yes, and a lot of people get that. Then they meet her, and then they're very confused. But like I said, that's how I hear her. So we're talking about The Last of Us episodes 4 through 7 tonight. 4 and 5 are basically an episode. 6 is its own thing, and then 7 is something else entirely. So we're gonna hop in and start talking about episode 4. And this is immediately after the events, at Bill and Frank's. They're in Bill's truck, and they end up at a campsite. And I thought this scene was actually the opening scene. I thought was pretty good. They have their exchange. He's pretty on edge. I'm sorry. Is this? Oh no, I skipped a part here. I skipped the taxi driver scene. I didn't like the taxi driver scene where I
don't remember it. I don't even.
It starts with her with the gun in the mirror.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, got it. So she's whipping the gun out, and she's feeling pretty cool about herself. And then she goes out, and Joel's he's siphoning gas here, if I'm not mistaken. And she has her book of puns. She starts throwing bad puns at the poor guy.
I really did like that section in the game with the bad puns.
Oh wait, is this the episode with all? Is this the episode with all the product placement stuff? There was like an Arby's. They were drinking Chef Boyardee.
They did eat Chef Boyardee in this episode. They did.
This is the episode.
The most alarming part of this episode is when Ellie found one of Bill's male erotica magazines in the back seat. I think that's actually in the game, which
it is in the game. It is. And in the game, that's how they convey that he is probably gay. by that magazine.
Got
by
it.
the point
Got it.
of the TV show of the show, well, I mean, we already know. So, it's just a little more. But it's right out of the that scene is
Okay.
almost shot for shot from the game.
Yeah.
Zoinks. Well,
Did you just say
it is.
zoinks?
It is. I did. I'm bringing that back.
Okay.
But we
So
don't need
there's-
to be reminded of Velma, please. Please and thank you.
Well, no. Well, Velma and I are very different people. You may or may not have gathered. The Hank Williams part I liked. What is it? Alone and Forsaken is the song that's playing as they're driving, and that's actually pretty cool. If you're familiar with the song, it's very appropriate. And they're just kind of, and then they end up at the campsite, and this is where they're scarfing down. And I thought this was funny. The 20-year-old Chef Boyardee and Ellie's just like, man, this is fantastic. What were they eating in the Fedra zone? I mean, it couldn't have been that good.
No.
Yeah, it was probably like I don't know.
Green.
Yeah, Soylent Green, or
It could have been. It could
they
have
were
been.
living in their pods with their bug supplements and owned to nothing and were happy.
Sure.
All that leftover bug protein from
Yep,
Bill
bug
Gates made.
protein. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I do like these moments are some of the best in the show where they're bonding and actually you show them doing stuff and talking and whatever.
I like the quieter moments. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Matt. What was that?
It becomes very apparent when you watch all 7 episodes, because I can rip some of these episodes apart tonight if I really go into it, that Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey have really good chemistry. And when they're just alone by themselves, the show is very watchable. Even when they're doing action scenes together, they have good on-screen chemistry for that, But when they start like side plots and like this whole 4th episode could have been cut down to 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes. The only point that happened at the end what happened at the end that led into their episode, so to speak.
Right, but then we wouldn't have met the discount governor, which is what we call her. I don't even know what her name is. Kathleen, I think.
Yeah,
but we're a minute away from meeting the discount governor.
Yeah.
So they're out there and
mini psychopath.
I hated her so much for.
I get.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. Don't
You
get
know
me
what she
started.
So you're going to get started. You're going to get started. So
misery.
They're out there. They're camping. She wants basically reassurance that they're going to be okay. As soon as she says that, you can see Joel's like, all right. And then he ends up staying up all night on watch, makes coffee in the morning, which I think is probably a pretty much a luxury item at this point. I don't know how long coffee stays good.
Technically, coffee does not expire.
Coffee beans,
Technically.
once they're turned into preserved coffee beans, will last a long time.
Okay.
Once you grind it up.
I have drank 10-year-old Folgers before and survived.
That's
fair
still
enough.
disgusting.
Fair enough.
That's still disgusting.
It was disgusting.
Basically, dried beans will last for decades, to put it real simple.
That's like drinking mud.
Yep.
So they get on the freeway the next day, and they're still joking back and forth, and Ellie falls asleep in the truck, and when she wakes up, they are at this shitty, giant roadblock. There's a truck that has gone under an overpass, and either there was an accident or a kerfuffle. It doesn't really matter, but the truck, or it's intentional to cause blockage so that you're forced to funnel through the city, which is exactly what they don't want to do, because if you've seen any zombie-like scenario before, you know where you don't want to go, the cities, because that's where all the bad people are.
In the game, it's Pittsburgh
instead of Kansas.
Instead of Kansas City.
Schittsburg.
I don't really think it makes a difference, honestly.
Big city to big city, it's kind of similar.
Big city, but but just to clarify, it was Pittsburgh in the game.
Well, when I was a teenager, I got robbed buying pot in Pittsburgh. I never got robbed buying pot in Kansas City. So, it's important. It's important. It's the little things like that. Anyway, So they're forced to go into the city. And almost immediately some dude comes out grasping his gun. It's not even like a very well veiled ambush scene. Joel knows what's happening immediately, and he's like, "Oh, F no," and goes to get out there. And Ellie's, what's going on? Because she thinks maybe it's legit. They end up going through the city, cinder block through the windshield. They crash into the front of what is it, a bank or something like that?
It was a laundromat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And this is I actually think that the scene worked pretty well. I mean, it's a very tense scene. There's a lot going on. Joel sees a hole in the wall. He wants Ellie to get out of there because he wants to protect her. And the best way to protect her is for her not to be in the room where he has to kill a bunch of dudes. Takes a couple down, and then a third one takes him by surprise. And this is where we remember Ellie found the gun in episode 3. And we knew the gun was going to make a comeback at some point. And the dude, Joel is not doing well in this fight. Dude is choking him out, and Ellie shoots him in the back. She's not she's not a fantastic shot. She didn't take him out. So now the dude's like whimpering and trying to plead with Joel, talking about his knife. I thought that was funny. He's like, "Yeah, you can have the knife, man. It's a really good knife." And I think Joel's like in save ammo mode here because Ellie leaves the room and Joel finishes him. You don't see it, but you know that Joel finishes him with the knife. That was good. Not showing it, I think, was effective because you get it from Ellie's perspective. And I thought that whole scene, actually the opening in general, minus the part where she's doing Taxi Driver, worked really well. I thought the build-up, the driving, and then the actual events, that all was good for me. Go ahead, Joker.
Roman, it's interesting you say that because you and I last time we were all here said that the opening segments of episode 1 and 2 were the best part of those episodes.
Wait, there may be a pattern here that I've somehow overlooked.
Oh my.
I'm just saying.
On the rest of the episode is for me all right.
The beginning, it went downhill real fast.
As soon as we get into the city, let's see where are our notes here.
Where we meet the QZ Karen.
Yes. So in a different part of the city, this irritated me so much. There's an older gentleman sitting in, it looks like a converted Connex, being questioned by a unfortunate woman about someone named Henry. We don't know who Henry is. We don't know what his association is, only that she wants to find him. And the gentleman she is questioning is a Fedra collaborator. He turned in people who weren't going by Fedra guidelines. All right.
And keep this in mind, he's also a doctor.
That's the part that I had a giant issue with during this whole business with Discount Governor. So there's a bit of kerfuffle outside. She goes out. They find, she finds out that a gaggle of her guys have been killed off. She just walks in pissed off. And the guy's like, he delivered. He's like, I remember holding you in my arms. I delivered you. And then she kills him. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please, chat. I can't imagine there's a whole lot of medical training going on in the zombie infected world that would lead this to ever be a good idea.
Medical personnel should be treated like gold.
Yeah, even if he's an F up.
In hard defense, she's a psychopath.
Well, yes, clearly.
Okay, but you would think the medical training is in short supply. So if you're the leader of this group now, the two most important people would be your person in charge of your the military wing, and a doctor should be the most important people, because that is survival mode. What do you need to survive?
The thing to remember is that they overthrew Fedra, so they're basically like the French Revolution. It's just one
Right.
bad leader for the next, and it's purges and no one said
Anarchy.
that they were
It's
smart.
anarchy.
It's anarchy, right? They show scenes in the episode of people like shooting guns in the air and murdering people and stealing and whatever. So it's no better or probably worse than it was under Fedra. And she has like a super competent lieutenant, the older guy with the slick hair.
Perry seems like he definitely has his shit together.
Let's all be
just to
up
be
front.
clear,
That dude would be in charge. She would not be in charge. That guy be running shit. And
I'm dead serious. She's depicted as a psychopath, which her entire world revolves around her, and everything that exists is basically put it bluntly, masturbate her way through the world. She kills people she wants to kill. She takes people she wants to take. Look at. I mean, I'll reserve comment on what happened in episode 7 for that. But think of what she does in episode 7. How many people she gets killed just to kill one guy because he's a psychopath.
And I was wondering about that. I was like, how is she in charge? And then they jump ahead. They explain it in the next episode.
We get it in episode 5, I think, as to why.
I was wondering the whole time I was watching this. I'm like, how's this biatch in charge?
And I would just
impossible.
I would just say the minute I heard her voice, that was nails on a chalkboard. Right. Absolutely nails on a chalkboard.
This actress is also in another show called Yellow Jackets, which you may or may not have seen. It's on Showtime. I thought it was going to be like a girls only version of Lord of the Flies, but it's not. It's actually more interesting than I thought it was going to be. I like the show. I haven't seen season 2 hasn't come out yet, but I like season 1. So, but that actress, yes, in this is, actually, I mean, she's fine. Her character is horrible though. She is everything you expect her to be, which is not good.
I mean, in the actual like zombie apocalypse, like, granted, yes, we do get an explanation of why she's in charge, but like, if it's a free-for-all, she would have probably died immediately when she like went to go kill a doctor or something. Somebody else would have been like, hell no, you're out of here. We don't shoot doctors. We need doctors. You are psycho. You're gonna die.
So, so when the bodies show up, she's like, oh, Henry must have called in somebody from outside. Okay.
How?
And again, we don't know who Henry is yet. We don't have any idea who Henry is. So Henry must have called in someone from outside. So she rallies the troops to go bust down doors. I mean, now it looks like a Gestapo mode. They've got
martial law,
the
browncoats,
the things you break down doors with. Oh my God,
battering rams.
Help me, battering rams. I had an old man moment there. Battering rams, and they're smashing in doors. You know, they're doing all the things that the bad guys would do, looking for this one person. And
is this where they find that mound, and it's like starting to breathe a little bit?
Yeah. So we get to we go back to the scene with Joel and Ellie, and they're bonding over the trauma of what just happened to them. And Ellie, the pistol. So this is where, he asked her for the gun, and they talk about it for a second. Then he basically he gives her some pointers on holding the gun and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, okay. You know, change of attitude towards Ellie having a weapon. Okay. Makes sense. I got it. And that's kind of a brief scene, but then we're back with the crazies again, and they're at the site of where the ambush happened, and it's Perry and crazy Kathleen, and the ground is heaving up and down, and instead of doing something, she's like, we need to keep this from the others until this is taken care of. It's like, I think your sense of priorities is incredibly off here.
That is a greater threat. That is an existential threat to your survival.
Yes, it's
Because
like,
because you know what it is.
I get that you want to. Oh, I haven't moving through the pictures. I'm sorry. I get that you want to get Henry, whomever Henry is. So here we have the feigned injured guy to draw them into the ambush. Crashing. I'm getting choked out. He shoots and now discounts Governor, giving her
that bitch.
talking to the old guy. Look at that face. Isn't that it's the look. It's the look that you expect from someone like this.
The character she reminds me the most of is the character from Misery.
Yes.
And I wonder if they had the actress do it that way on purpose, because the character name is Kathy Bates.
Right. Could be. So yeah, here's discount Governor looking at the bodies, and Perry shows her here's the ground. Sorry, remind me if I'm not skipping through the pictures. Please remind me that I'm not doing that, because we're talking about the episode, which is good, but I do want to have some visuals, because people like visuals. But this was it's like, man, okay, got it. I don't think Perry probably agreed with this decision. He went along with it.
Which is that's the first signal. Like no. If it was me, I'd be like, "You're an idiot. Shoot me now, or I'm about to tell everybody what's happening. And if you shoot me, you're gonna activate that thing, and we're all gonna die."
It drove me kind of nuts, not to say the least.
What bothers me about this is obviously the guy is in charge of their defense. That is his job, to basically ensure the safety of everyone there. But as Matt had said, she is an absolute psychopath. You just the very first image that you showed of her, there is nothing going on. She is vacant.
Yeah. Yep.
But this and you'll forgive me for this, I hope. This show and I mean, it's just the genre, I suppose. That's where, when I say she's the discount governor, I'm not really kidding. I mean, you do draw back to The Walking Dead for a scene like that. Except I like the governor a lot more. He was a better written character. He also was a psychopath, but he had a lot more layers, and you also had a lot more time with him.
Roman, psychopath is a clinical thing. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not saying I'm clinically diagnosing these characters, but the governor's trauma was different. You know what I mean? Like you could sympathize with the governor, not that he held together to produce a stable society, and it just manifested against outsiders that he would just take it out on. Whereas this woman was going to burn the whole world to the ground. There was no.
But I would argue, Matt, that she wasn't like this before. She probably had it in her, because obviously many people do.
Since she was a kid, but it just triggered with the apocalypse.
But the governor's actions were not that of a sane man. They weren't. He was an effective leader. He was able to bring people together. But a lot of business leaders are also either narcissist. Every psychopath's a narcissist, but not every narcissist is a psychopath.
Well, not every psychopath is a dysfunctional serial killer. In fact, most of them aren't.
Well, a psychopath and sociopath are essentially the same thing. It's kind of a matter of how you get there.
Sociopath is the layman's way of saying it.
Sociopath is you are born with that tendency. Psychopath, you develop the tendency later. Is it not really?
I get these terms said about me all the time.
I'm sorry to be so to traumatize you so, Joker. Zach, good to see you, buddy.
I'm having flashbacks here.
So they go to the scene of where they were hiding out. Perry figures out they were hiding out in this attic. There's like cans of food up there.
Drawings,
children's drawings of superhero characters. And Discount Governor says he's not going to let Sam starve to death. So at this point, you don't know who Sam is either. I actually made the leap here, and it was incorrect, that Sam was maybe the focus, finding Sam, but finding Sam through Henry. Because I had no idea who these people were. I just knew that she wanted to find Henry, and then she brings up Sam, and she talks about Sam in a kind of neutral way. She didn't seem angry with him.
Well,
I didn't, just don't know. You don't know at this point.
Well, I'll say this because she mentions the name Henry, and then you see the cans of food, and you see the child, and you see the drawings, and then you hear her say, Henry won't let Sam starve. Okay, so this tells you something right away. That one, Sam, that Henry is looking after a child. So he already has a weakness that Kathleen will look to exploit.
Yes. And man, she's just despicable. She's just such a horrible person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's now nightfall, and there's not a lot left. We're going to jump into episode 5 here in a second because, like I said, it's basically the same episode. Ellie and Joel find their way to a skyscraper because Joel wants to get to higher ground so he can get the lay of the land. He doesn't have a map apparently that he can utilize or show him. Of course, even with a map, though, you don't know what. Remember, boys and girls, maps don't show blocked roads. So he wants to get a clear lay of the land as to the best route, the F out of the city. So they find their way to this high building. They make it to I think it's the 30-something floor, and Joel's kind of done with his climb up. She makes some joke about him being old. That's not nice, Ellie. As an elder gentleman myself, I appreciate Joel's dilemma here, going up 33 flights of stairs in a rush because you're not taking your time. You're trying to get the hell up and out of view.
And most normal people would not just elderly, but most normal people, if you're going up 30 flights of stairs,
I'll be tapping out.
You'd be tuckered out. Be like, hold on, let me catch my breath for a moment.
And then they have a little conversation about what happened again with the shooting, though. And she asks him if it gets any easier when you're older, and he says, "No, not really." And then they have she asks him about the past again, and he explains that he and Tess and Tommy had to do things that were bad. That's how he knew about the ambush. That's why he knew what it was as soon as he saw it, because he had done stuff like that. Joel is not a bad man. And this show, and I've talked about this before, is often about good people having to make very bad decisions to stay alive. And it's unfortunate. Joel, you're doing things are bad. They are objectively bad, so that you can stay alive, but you're staying alive at the cost of someone else who also wanted to stay alive. So
correct.
He brings that up, and he's like, we were just trying to survive. So they end up in this apartment or hotel room or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. It's a room. He's scattering glass in the entryway and asking, "Hey, Invader Zim." And she's like, "What is that supposed to be? Alarm?" He's like, "Yeah, that's kind of the point." And she makes a joke. Did you know diarrhea runs? How is it? The diarrhea joke. Oh, did you know diarrhea is hereditary? It runs in your genes. Oh, and he laughs despite himself. Very good. Thank you. Because I think he's just really effing tired, and he's loopy. So he laughs, and then we hear her calling his name. He wakes up. There's a gun pointed at him. And yeah.
I want to make note of this. That earlier in the episode, Ellie mentions that Joel has a hard time hearing on his right side. So Joel falls asleep. He's sleeping on his left ear. So this is why Henry and Sam got in undetected. Joel couldn't hear them.
Yep.
I
And
don't remember that being
you're
in the
right.
game, though.
I'm just saying,
Oh.
no, the show. I'm saying the show. That's,
Yeah.
Now
I
that
don't
does
like
come
it.
up later as well. So we will revisit Joel's bad hearing and other things in another episode.
Okay.
So now we're going to be jumping into and then we're here. Yeah, here's Sam, or who you assume is Sam, at least in this episode. So I'm going to pull back here for a second. So that was episode 4. It wasn't a bad episode. It was up till I think a certain points. I like 1, 2, and 4. Matt, I think you said this could have been abbreviated, and I think you're right.
They could have cut this down to 10 to 15 minutes, because ultimately you don't care about anyone in this show other than of the new characters, other than Henry, Sam, and Kathleen, right? All you need is one scene with Kathleen to show she's a psychopath, which when they're with the giant zombie cysts, basically. And the worst thing about it is you get into these two characters, Henry and Sam, right? Well, spoilers, they're gone at the end of the next episode. So
what?
Like, why? Like, I mean, you spend
why even bother with the side story?
Yeah, why bother with side
There's
story?
a lot of I guess, I mean, maybe in gameplay, these kind of things made a lot more sense because you needed to have your, solve this.
Yes.
Move on.
In the
gameplay.
Yeah.
In the gameplay, they actually get separated where Ellie is with Henry and Joel is with Sam. So they parallel where they're responsible for each other. And they build this trust, and there's like puzzles. They gotta, hey, the little kid crawl through this vent, and he'll be able to open the door on the other side. And then you're like floating around on rafts and stuff, and Joel's doing things. So it makes way more sense in the game, and you're building a much tighter, trusting relationship in the game than you ever see in the show between all these 4 characters.
If I was a showrunner, like for this sequence, this time period, I would have cut out large chunks of the 3rd and 7th episode, right? And it really expanded the time spent with Sam and with Henry, and made that sneak out through the tunnel 3 or 4 episode thing, and so Kathleen being a domineering psychopath for 3 or 4 episodes. So when the crap hits the fan, you're impacted. You're there. You see people being destroyed by Kathleen's psychopathy. You see Sam. You see Sam Henry desperate to get Sam out or whatever.
I don't think that she's in the game though, like at all. Like the whole point of Sam and Henry being there is completely different in the game than in the show. Because in the game, Sam and Henry like came to the city with a group of people, and they just got ambushed, and they got separated from their group of people, and so they're just as lost as Sam and Ellie.
This is a very different story.
I'm talking like the TV show storyline. You know what I mean? Like dealing with what they gave us, right? It's just, I watched 7 episodes of this so far, and honestly, there's maybe the times that's most memorable are the times, like I said, where Pedro Pascal and those two spend time together.
Yes.
Some of the fight scenes are okay. Although they keep making Joel in some scenes very highly skilled, and other scenes like a bumbling idiot. Like there's no in between. From a constructive of Joel's fights. But then they fill stuff with this with like characters you don't have enough time to want to care about, or they don't tie their storyline into you to care about them, right? I mean, think about that. End of episode 3, the 2 guys basically did the same thing that Sam and Henry did. You're
exactly right, Matt. In the game, how Henry and Sam goes down in the game, but not with Bill and Frank. So
actually, it's a pattern. Think about it. Episode 3,
is.
You get what happened, right? Episode 5, you get the same thing. Episode 7, if Elle wasn't immune, you would have got the same thing. So I think they're doing that pattern on purpose.
Well, I mean, like I said, though, it does fit in the context of it's a video game, and I understand they've deviated well from the blueprint of the video game. but you have an adventure, you have a side adventure you have to do, then you get back to your main adventure, then you have a side adventure, then you get back to your main adventure. Now, when you're watching episodic television, however, it doesn't have that same impact, and it makes you don't get used to characters very long, which we noticed early and will continue. And it feels like a choppy story. It is what we're getting.
But there are some points in the show that are almost identically shot for what's in the game. So it's what's weird is they'll deviate wildly and you'll be like, well, what is this? And then other times it's good because it follows the game almost to the letter, which is why, despite all the flaws the show has, I still am interested to see the next episode, which is an indicator of a halfway decent show for me.
Yeah,
it's good enough to want to watch once. I don't know if I ever want to rewatch it again.
Oh, I don't think it has a lot of rewatch value.
I don't think it
play
does
the
either,
game. Just play the game.
I think the story, like I said, I haven't seen one episode yet where I'm like, this is so bad, I don't want to see it again, ever. like
episode 3. I think that's the one for me that I was just nope.
But you can just fast forward through the bad part. You know,
right? That's true.
Like
I said, it has enough.
I
good
my way
things.
through episode 7 with that too. The same thing.
It has enough good things that keep me coming back, because that's what they'll do is they'll in one hand they'll give you a dog do, and then the next one they'll give you a steak.
Mm-hmm.
So
I felt like episode sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, to go back to the Bill storyline, right? Instead of showing it off screen, right, and then basically the characters erased themselves at the end of the episode, right?
I hated that
so much. Elle and Joel get there early enough that they can participate in the slow decline of what's his face. You know, watch they're there for a while resting, and they see him dying of cancer. Make you care about the character as part of the current storyline, you know, and that would have been so much more interesting. And then they could have been there with Bill, like, oh man, he's dead. Like I have to do this. But I can't. I love him, and they could have consoled and made the characters impactful. Instead, it's just like, hey guys, last week, telling you like an IT anecdote from last week or whatever. You know, it has no impact on the core of the story, which is Joel and Elle surviving. Because all they need to do is find the stuff. It doesn't matter where it came from because the characters were gone beforehand. You know?
Yeah, and I think like with episode 3, they could have easily like with the gameplay, like Bill was alive and Frank was dead, but you got a ton of time with Bill mentoring Ellie. You got that relationship of he's the one who's trying to convince Joel, let Ellie carry a firearm. She needs to be protected. She needs to be safe. And like that kind of like later on in the game, that makes Joel realize I should probably let Ellie like hold a firearm because that's a thing. They could have done something.
There was a lot more they could have done with the character of Bill, who was still alive in the game, and in my opinion still should have been alive after the end of episode 3, regardless of the other events that transpired. But that's neither here nor there. We're moving on. We're at episode 5. Let's jump ahead. In time.
There's my main man, the Mushroom Warrior.
So this episode starts off with a bang. There's the riot is going on in Kansas City. You see Henry and Sam, who's obviously deaf, they're just trying to get the hell out of the way. And then Discount Governor has a bunch of people gathered up in a room who she is questioning. And I hated this scene so much. I really despise this scene. She's like, so how did you feel when you were selling us out for alcohol or medicine or an apple? How do you feel now? And it's like, oh my God, please someone kill me.
I would have been like, well, at least I have feelings.
Oh gosh, she was just so insufferable.
Here's the kicker for this whole thing is Henry sold everybody out to get medicine for Sam because he had leukemia. The kid is dead, man. There is no way to fix that with just pills.
No, well, let's hold off on that part of this for a minute. Let's get there, because that is a conversation that I want to have. And there's like, it's fine. So she's trying to get information out of this group of people sitting on the floor. Carrot and the stick kind of stuff. She just says, "Hey, I guess we're just going to have to kill you all." And some beta male on the floor, says the dude's name. I don't remember what the guy's name was who helped Henry. Does anybody remember that?
No.
Doctor guy. We'll call him Doctor Guy. I don't know what his name was, but that's he's the one who gets them into that attic, gets them set up. And they walk in, they're kind of like, ooh, this isn't great. But anyway, but so they now have that bit of information that it's whatever his name is, the doctor. And she tells Perry to kill them all anyway and then burn them. The lady, you're okay. That's great. Building trust in the society. I hated her. I hated that scene. I hated her even more after it.
I don't hate her in a good way. Like, she's a villain, and villains you want to hate in a good way. Her,
right?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. I know exactly.
It's like Dolores Umbridge in Harry Potter.
Yes.
You just hate her. There's no good feelings for her in any way, shape, form, or fashion. You just want her to just jump off a cliff with no parachute.
Well, even the
laugh.
character that she's like the character from Misery, you love to hate that character,
Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yes,
No.
But these are well-written characters. They also have a lot more depth. We don't get a lot of time to know Discount Governor. This is it. So we don't, and the motivations we do understand of her once we get there, I think are very lacking. So,
my brother died. My brother died, so I want to burn the world.
Right,
so,
and that's important.
Go ahead.
That's important. Is her brother was the leader of the resistance, and he was very popular, very charismatic,
loved,
and he had like a really good idea what was going to happen. And then he died, and so she de facto inherited the leadership off of him because of her. She was like his lieutenant, kind of, and would do like the crazy hard stuff.
Well, I would say she was probably the enforcer.
Right, exactly.
Because she had that lack of moral compass that he had, so she was willing to take those next steps.
And that's why Perry,
a sane person wouldn't.
The other guy, he was extremely loyal to the brother, and he transferred that loyalty to her, even though he should have taken over 100%.
Yeah.
But he didn't, and that's why. And a lot of other people followed her. And because she had that strong core of people around her, she was able to control everything else.
Well, once you had someone like Perry following her, that laid the groundwork. Then everybody else is just going to follow along.
Right.
Once one strong man follows Crazy Pants, then other people are going to follow Crazy Pants.
To reference
that's the way this works.
Negan, the charismatic, somewhat sane leader of the whatever's, I can't remember offhand right now. His number one guy was a total psychopath.
Yes.
Who wanted to burn the whole system down, and he's the real reason that the Saviors lost more than anything. Is that number two guy who was a total psychopath?
Right. Sometimes in an organization, you need somebody that's your heavy hitter. That I'm not saying they don't have morals or whatever, but they're less afraid to get their hands dirty, if you will, in like a kind of like poetic way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you need that person that's going to go out there and fire people and tell them that, hey, you suck, you're out. And you don't want to do that as a leader necessarily, because that can damage your, you know what I mean, like your ability to lead. So you got to have that person, your pinch hitter, basically. To do
that is why Castro had Che Guevara.
Every Don Corleone needs a Luca Brasi.
No, that's true. Luca. So we flash forward in the episode back to the present briefly, where you have Joel and Ellie and Sam and Henry having kind of it's not quite a standoff in the apartment. Henry's got a gun to Ellie's head, and he's like, I don't want to hurt you. We need to trust each other. And this is a weird way to get things across, but anybody you contact with in an environment like this is a potential threat. So your dealings with them are not going to be, hey, my name's Joel, my name's Henry. You're going to be going into these things from a very tense point of view. and a one-off meeting in some place like this. Eventually things chill out, and they're sitting down, they're sharing food, and Joel's like, okay, I think we're probably done here. And Henry's like, well, I think you probably came up here because you wanted to get a view of the city. So, and you know, I don't, that's kind of a leap, but whatever. And then he's like, you know, you're not going to get out that way. The way to get out is, and he turns to Sam, and Sam writes tunnels on his. Do you guys remember what the hell that thing was called?
I don't remember what it was called, but
we all had one when we were kids.
Oh yeah,
I had an Etch-a-Sketch.
I want to call it an Etch-a-Sketch, but it's not an Etch-a-Sketch. It's that little gray pad that you write on, then rip the page up, and it erases the thing. I just couldn't remember the name of it. So tunnels, Fedra, but there's the catch. So you can get out through the city through the tunnels, but the catch is Fedra. You know, what didn't you see in Kansas City? You didn't see any of the infected because Fedra pushed them all on the ground. Okay, that's fantastic. Hence the shifting ground. Also, this is where Henry reveals that he's like, well, you should probably know this. What was that?
Very true.
Nobody on the show. What do you say?
No one sells it. No one sells it. There's never a. There's never.
Yes.
There's never like an or anything.
No, it's just like all of a sudden they're bit and they didn't realize that it happened.
Well, it doesn't actually hurt that much to be bit. Very, very. I have had a chunk taken out of me before, and I just sort of knocked the guy out. So.
I know I've never been bit by a person. I have been bit by a dog, and it hurts.
Is that why you're sitting on a mushroom throne right now?
Dogs are different. Dogs can penetrate to your bone. If a human can penetrate to your bone, you're in trouble. It's like
I mean, it depends on what kind of circles you run in. I'm just saying.
But so anyway, so Henry also is trying to explain to Joel who he's getting in bed with, so to speak. He's like, I'm not a Fedra agent. I'm something worse. I'm a collaborator. And Joel's like, I don't work with rats. He's like, well, you're going to have to now. It's like, oh, okay. Does he really though? Does he?
He's not wrong. I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. And so they end up in the tunnel system, which was kind of interesting. And when while they're walking through the tunnels, you don't really know what to expect as you're going down here. Joel, and I don't know why he felt the need. He's like, hey, I'm really sorry. I don't know your story, dude. And then Henry explains that why he had to, what he did. He's like, well, I had to betray someone who I really admired, to get medicine for Sam, who has leukemia. I don't want to be cold-hearted. I don't want to sound cruel, but
it's dead weight.
Sam is, unfortunately, in this world, is going to die. Medicine for leukemia, I'm not going to go into all the this and that's of it. It's not just here, take these pills, Sam, you're going to get better. It doesn't work like that. So this wasn't written particularly well in that regard anyway. There's treatment. There's all this stuff that, is simply not there.
See, I took that entirely differently. I took it as Henry was being given the con job just to get his information. In other words, Henry has no way of knowing what leukemia really is. And this is post-apocalyptic. He's an apocalypse baby, basically. He didn't go like we know. We learned about leukemia by the time we were in like grammar school, basically, when they talked about diseases. One of our friends got it and lived. He would have no bearing on that because anyone who gets leukemia in this setting, they would have died within a few months of it, right? So
probably
his brother comes in, or kid, nephew, whatever, and they tell him, okay, you have leukemia, but we can give you pills for that, right? But he clearly doesn't have leukemia because he's still alive, right? So they just said something to him, a disease you have trouble finding about, and they're just giving him pills to get information from him.
Actually, that would make more sense. I mean, that explanation does make more sense, except for the end. When we get to the end, we end up with another conversation that implies that Sam is actually sick.
He may be sick with something, but it logically couldn't have been leukemia because he should be dead by now.
Yeah.
But
leukemia is very fast.
Yeah.
But almost whatever it is, and again, I'm sorry, and I don't want to sound cruel, in this environment, and especially now, with the limited medical personnel, you're probably going to die. Things that wouldn't have killed you before are going to die. You're back in medieval times as far as medical care goes. But that drove me a little bit crazy. But they're going through these tunnels, and there's like all this. I don't know if it's painting or chalk. It must be paint falling off by that point. It looks like you're going into like a weird kid's den, which is precisely what it is. It's like it's like a classroom or something like that. And Joel's like, what I think it was Joel said, yeah, they would come underground, and that's where everybody gathered, and then and then they got sick and everybody died anyway. But so it's a classroom, and they're just kind of hanging out down there. And I think, and you get to see Ellie being a kid. They're bonding over that comic book.
Playing soccer.
Savage Starlight, Savage Starfire, Savage something. And they're playing ball, and they're being, and this is going to sound crazy. Everybody in this fucking show is louder than I would ever allow them to be. Mm-hmm. They're playing ball. They're like playing soccer down in this fucking room. And I'm thinking every zombie within, a mile knows what you're doing down there. And
who knows soccer is the zombie dinner bell?
Well, not even that.
What are you doing?
Not even that, because they're playing
I will
soccer.
freely admit, after watching A Quiet Place Part 1 and 2, I've entirely rethought the amount of sound in these post-apocalyptic settings. Now, I know those sort of those alien demon thingies aren't in here, but knowing how much sound does carry, if I were in this setting, I would be like, shut the F up, or I'm going to gag you.
Right? I'd be like, if you do something like that, I'm going to hog tie you and carry you around like a backpack. Like, don't make noise.
Yeah. Not even that. Not even that.
They don't.
Not even that. They're playing soccer against a wall.
Yeah.
The minute that ball hits that wall, that wall.
Oh, come on, Joker voice. We all know that's not loud.
Did we not watch Lord of the Rings?
No. Okay. But not.
Yeah,
it's not that, but it's not that it's loud. It's going to send a shockwave.
Exactly.
Of vibration.
I know exactly what you mean. You would hear that for way farther than if you're just kicking the ball around.
We learned
it drove me insane. So they get out of this. So Ellie and the kid bond, and they make their way out through the tunnels, and they finally pop up on the other side. Hey, everything's clear. Cocoon.
Nope.
Cocoon. There's a sniper taking shots at them now.
And also, just to say, they did find a place like that in the game. They go under the tunnels, and there's a place that people were living down there. I can't remember. They kick something around a little bit, but they do find it's got like paintings and like it looks like a little school or something.
Yeah, I think they like colored or something. Like they did something different.
Okay.
And just as a practical thought, I know this is a part of me that from old versus debate days of, but if you're a survivor in this world and you're not doing what the American Indians did or they go into the mountains in the later episode, you should be burning every one of these cities to the ground.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that will kill these mushroom armies is fire. You should be pouring every last bit of gasoline, like growing kindling in there, just so that they become simmering piles of ash. If I were the president of the U.S., the last thing I would have did if I turned into a mushroom would be to nuke every city in America, just because that's the only way you're going to stop this.
That's what the military tried to do with some success, because I guess they didn't go at it from the full burn it all to the ground, which is what they probably should have done. Which is what
save
more lives.
Which is what that doctor said in episode 2. The solution, bomb.
Yep. Bomb. Yeah,
I mean, like if you've ever played the Fallout games, that's basically what the Fallout games are. Is they had all of these bunkers, and basically the entire surface of the earth got nuked.
I mean, realistically, to say sounds horrible. I would not advocate doing this for reals, but you take every U.S. aircraft carrier group, You isolate them and load them up with people and supplies. Have them go down to Antarctica. You nuke everything and you release every known person-killing biological thing you have, so that these mushrooms have nothing to grow on.
Yeah, and these are all terrible options, but this is a terrible event. So Joel makes his way to this where the sniper is. Ellie and Henry and Sam are hiding behind a car. Joel just kind of gets in there and sneaks up on the dude. It's like okay, got it.
He's
Now
good.
Joel, once again, a master ninja.
He's a master, exactly.
Thugs, but now he's a master ninja.
Guy doesn't even know he's there, and he's trying to reason
the script needs the plot to happen.
Yeah. It's because the script needs the plot. That's why this happens. And he's trying to get the guy to just give up his gun and walk away. Walk away. Just give me the gun and walk away. As Lord Humongous would have said. But he doesn't, and of course Joel ends up having to kill him. Now, while this is transpiring over the radio, you hear Discount Governor's voice come up and say, "We're almost there. Hold on." So she and her cohorts are coming along, and they're coming up in like this. It's like a giant snowplow vehicle, chasing the children through the street, which was funny and horrible at the same time. Joel's taking shots. He is a decent shot. He finally takes the driver out, and the truck goes off the road, catches on fire. And now they're still hiding behind a different vehicle. And Discount Governor's like, you can hear her. She's got a bullhorn, basically calling to Henry.
Which is the worst thing you can do in a zombie apocalypse with zombies that have sound. Like, why are you blowing a blowhorn? Why?
Right, because these zombies don't see. It's echolocation.
No. Yes. It's all sound. Everything is sound, and she's being as loud as she possibly can. Everything in this scene was loud.
Ring the dinner bell. Just ring the dinner bell, folks.
It's just like, come to us, zombies. We're just here for you to eat and munch on your snacks.
God, it drove me
and then
insane.
Be careful what you wish for.
And so then Henry comes up with this really terrible plan where he's like, "I'll come out if you let the kids go." And he's basically turning himself over, and she's like, "No. She was with the one who killed Brian." We don't know who the fuck Brian is. He's one of the guys who got killed at the beginning of episode 4. So she wants to kill anybody who ever gets killed. She wants to kill.
I love that.
She just wants to watch the world burn, and she just needed an excuse.
Person, man. So the kids are all panicked.
She also
ugly. She's about to, Henry's about to buy it, and then the snowplow, the aforementioned snowplow from earlier, dunks into the ground, bursts into flame, and out come the zombie horde.
A freaking horde! I
would never have guessed that a zombie horde would come when you have explosions.
Right.
I mean, a giant zombie.
The problem that I had with this, where he's like, "I give up," they were enveloped on both sides by people. All they had to do was just start shooting, and they could have killed them all.
Right.
So I don't know why.
That's because they were dicking around and
exactly.
dicking around.
That's the exact correct phrase to use for what was happening. It was dicking around.
And then you get the horde.
Now, however, I will say this: it was completely set up, and I'm like, okay, they're here it comes. Visually, though, I was like, damn, I'm like, whoa.
Well, the zombie part was really good.
Yeah,
because
you hadn't had these 2 episodes.
Because they hit fast, they hit hard, and I'm like, holy shit balls! That's how you do that type of a scene. That is just not slowly crawling. No, this is just rabid.
Yeah, that's one of the crazy things with these zombies versus other zombies. Like, these zombies are fast. They see you, they're coming after you. You can't outrun them.
So within the larger action scene that we talked about, where they could have just shot them all, and the issues with that, within that, there's a very good action sequence with Joel protecting Ellie as she moves through it. I really like that part of it. I dislike, like you were saying before, where they could have shot those guys all down and with organized fire and all that, But when you get into the nitty gritty of the way Ellie was moving through the fight, and she knew Joel was protecting her, so she was manipulating things to try to rescue the other two guys. That was very well done from a combat choreography point of view, storytelling point of view.
Joel was an amazing shot.
So
if I'd have been trying to do that,
Ninja Joel again. So he's on these Joel A versus Joel B, or
I think as far as his physical ability, that's the light switch that goes on and off and on and off. He, from what I've gathered from the show, he's always been a crack shot. So that's never. That's
like a 300-meter shot. Look up the number of guys who can take 300-meter shots.
And she's moving with zombies on her. All I'm saying is that in real life, those would have been real suspect shots. But anyway, it mirrors the game. In the game, the rifle is mounted on a tripod, so it's very steady. I have an issue with you really never reload it. You just cycle it, so it has I don't know if it's belt fed or what, but you can in the game. That's what you're doing. Ellie's running, and there's people and zombies, and you're trying to stop them. And so that part is mirrored very well. Same with when he flanks the person in the house, except in the game, he just murders the shit out of everybody in there instead of trying to talk them down or anything.
Yeah, he's just all of you are gone. Go.
However you choose, because by this point, you've got Molotov cocktails and all kinds of stuff, so you can really go nuts if you want.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those would have been quite effective in this fight.
But of course, it's a video game, so he's got them all in his backpack or whatever. But
of course,
so that part was good. It's just
I like this zombie a lot, the loader, because it's a practical effect, which I didn't know until a bit ago.
It's a dude in a suit. And I will say this: the zombies in the show look just like the zombies in the game, and they're very well done, and the way they move and act and everything is almost identical. So they did a really good job with that. How they start swarming and killing all the people that are in the convoy or whatever is good. It's just when Karen's I'm going to casually talk now, where there's zombies running around and people burning and shooting. That part didn't make a lot of sense, but I get it's a TV show and it has to have its dramatic
in a sec. So before that, though, the zombies are all running wild. Ellie and Sam end up in a car trying to hide out. One comes through the window and does some weird effing unnatural movements, and I really liked that scene. Anything that's unnatural and makes your skin crawl is effective. That's pretty cool stuff to just visually. It's
kind of the Ghost from the Ring or the Grudge. Or
exactly. Well, unnatural movement.
Also, that's a adolescent zombie. It's not a full grown. Yeah, it's a kid zombie.
Yes, it's small enough so it can get in the window.
American producers of this stuff have learned very well, because the Japanese mastered the art of the evil kid zombie ghost or whatever, and they learned the art very well from them. It's a really good looking effect.
Mm-hmm. And so then they take care of that. Then now Sam and Henry are under a car, and this is where things go poorly, more poorly than we realized. They're kicking, trying to get these things out of here. And Joel comes around like a boss and takes care of the problem. And then everybody, they're just trying to get the fuck out of there at this point. They're running off the main path because the zombies are killing everything in the that main drag, because that's where all the guys are, and that's where feeding time is, or infecting time is, I guess, depending on your perspective. But the discount governor sees them and takes the time to come over to still trying to kill Henry, despite all the chaos and destruction that's going on around her. She feels that she needs to still take care of this issue. The world be damned.
Lady,
what can you be the leader of if everyone's dead?
Lady, take the L. Just take the L.
Yeah, but she's a psychopath. She can't. She spoke. Her brother was her what do they call it? The psychopath that's a focus, and her brother was her focus, and now her brother got murdered. So she needs to kill Henry and everything Henry cares about in her mind to do, you know.
But the thing is, like, the whole point, like, her brother was a leader of something, of people. If she wanted to honor his memory, she would lead these people and help to try and keep them safe. Instead, they're burning around her, and she's just like, sucks to suck, bruh. Bye.
But I'm saying, she's not mentally well. She's a psychopath.
No.
She doesn't care about anyone except her needs, and her need was focused on her brother.
Yep.
Right. And again, even in this shot, there is nothing behind those eyes.
Yeah, look at the way the actress plays it. She's dead-eyed, like, you know.
Right.
You're staring into nothing when you look at her eyes.
But mercifully,
black void of nothingness.
One of the little zombies jumps up and takes care of her, and everybody just walks off.
Whenever, like, I think I've played enough zombie games and seen enough zombie movies to know no one walks away from a fight like that unscathed. Like, my heebie-jeebie alerts, like, somebody got bit and they ain't saying nothing. Like,
everybody do a check. Everybody do a check. Seriously, it's like, look. Nope. I'm not gonna bother.
That's when you know someone is bit. Always, every single time, they're just walking away. Nobody's saying nothing about, you know, are you bit? Are you bit?
Nothing
No,
to see
we're just
here.
like, oh,
Nothing.
You know
nothing
that
to see
rule
here.
number one of any zombie genre show, book, game is if you get bit, you tell no one until you are left at the gate of the secure facility, so you can turn and screw everybody. That's your number one job after you've been bit.
It's like something takes hold in your brain that you have to
armor,
continue on.
None of your vulnerable flesh ever has any armor or wraps on it that could prevent a bite. Because human bites, humans don't have a lot of biting power. You know,
I'm 100% with you, Matt. That the first thing you do is you get some kind of gloves and an arm thing and an iron collar, and you're safe. Because anything where they would be able to bite you, you just put it on. It doesn't even have to be that tough of a material. And as long as you're bite proof, you're fine.
Right. It's not a tiger. So they're in this hotel, and Ellie and the kid are bonding some more. He's like, you're never scared of anything. She's like, I'm scared of scorpions. Trying to be funny. It was a terrible joke. And it goes over as well as you think it's going to. And she's like, I'm scared of being left alone. As ultimately her fear comes out. And then the kid writes this fucking spooky thing down. He's like, if there's a monster inside you, are you still you? And he's like, what the fuck, Sam? Really?
Because he knows he's bitten. He's like, I'm probably about to eat you in the morning.
Like, let me see it. And he's got, a big, okay, actually, I don't have that slide. And he's got a bite mark on his ankle. And then she does this weird fucking thing like she thinks it's going to work. She slices her hand open, puts it on the wound. It's like, my blood is medicine. My blood is medicine. I'm immune. And she shows him her bite. It's like, that's not the way this works. That's not the way any of this works.
That's not how that works. This is not a vampirism. It's not how it works.
So I think that she kind of knew that, but then again,
well, she doesn't know that. She's a kid.
Exactly. They don't know that much about it, so why not give it a shot? Because it could have worked.
Just like they don't know that you can't live through leukemia without advanced medical treatment,
right?
Or there's no pills. I mean, they're kids. They're just they're post-apocalyptic kids.
And later, and she realizes it. Later on,
she realizes it in the morning.
Well, yeah, but later on, she realizes that it probably wasn't going to work, but she tried anyway because why not? Yeah. So it made sense
because you could get everybody else in the fucking room killed. That's the why not to it. And he's like, "Will you stay up with me? Stay up with me?" She falls.
There is a consistency, however. Here, I'll point out, if this had worked, right?
Everything's fine. Yeah.
Calm down. Did you all freeze up?
No, all my screens went blank.
So
they're back. They're back now.
If what she did would have worked, that meant that just those mushroom people spitting on people's faces would have infected them.
Right.
Were that contagious.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So it doesn't work. They get up in the morning. He's sitting on the bed. She's like, Sam, and he's like, ah. And
what she should have done was taken him out to look at the flowers. Look at the flowers.
Just look at the flowers.
Well, like
so
I don't know how I feel about that scene because, like, in the game, like everyone's just completely oblivious. Like he doesn't tell anybody, nobody knows, and then all of a sudden in the morning he just like attacks her. But I kind of like that scene better, where she's like trying. I don't know.
You're getting a little bit of empathy from her, but
in the game,
yeah, I know she's a kid and it's not her fault, but it drove me crazy. Guys, I'll be back in 1 sec.
In the game, they had a moment where they do talk in another room, and then she leaves, and he sits in there by himself, and they're like, "Oh, he's tired, and he just wants to rest." And then in the morning, obviously, they come in to see him, and he turns around, and he's all like crazed looking and stuff, and it mirrors what's in the show.
Mm-hmm.
After that,
I'm just glad about. I mean, Sam was raised well. I mean, he waited until the sun came up to start attacking. So he's got some manners.
Well, from what I understand, when you get bit or infected, people will turn anywhere within 2 hours to 2 days. So it can take as fast as 2 hours and as long as 2 days, but never longer than 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I was mildly annoyed by this scene because previously they had showed Henry holding a gun properly, and now he's holding it at a funny angle on the end of his fingers, not even aimed straight out ahead, like it's aimed off. Like if he pulls the trigger right there, it's either going to break his fingers or go flying out of his hand.
Well, in that moment, like it's kind of like a very flash. Like he doesn't have time to think; he's just reacting. This is all instinct.
In previous scenes, he holds the gun properly. Now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he holds it like he's an untrained actor. So I'm wondering if off scene that someone did come to it, like between takes, say, okay, wait, put the gun like this and like correct him again. Like maybe in previous scenes they were correcting him.
So what you're saying is this shot was done early in the episode, and then they
could have been. Little things like this tend to throw me out of like immersion when I see, like little technical details that like are in the middle of the camera. You know what I mean? Like if the gun were off the bottom left, I probably wouldn't have cared that much about it. But to me, my instinct when watching visual medium is what's in the middle is what you're meant to see. So when you see something off, like the where he's not holding the gun straight ahead, it's out of alignment and down and on the end of his fingers, and I'm like, that's not how Joel as a trained soldier type, trained an elite guy shouldn't be able to just flop that gun out of his hand like there's nothing,
But he didn't. And he shoots Sam in the head, saving everyone because no one else thought to spring into action. And Joel, this comes up again later on. And so then everybody's sad. I'm sorry. Actually, it's worse than that. Then he kills himself. That's which is the actual. So he kills his brother, and he's like, "What have I done? What have I done?" And he immediately blows his own brains out.
Now erasing the entire story.
Thus,
and that is how it goes down in the game as well.
So you got in episode 3, which I thought was
done horribly,
more pointless.
Right.
This I understood as a moment of anguish. He just killed his brother and then he takes his own life. And I understand that scene better than I understood the other scene. Like I said, they had a long time to think about that, plan it out, and all that shit. This one, he was in shock and couldn't believe what he'd done, and then he made a very rash decision, and an irreversible rash decision. So Ellie and Joel take them out and they bury them, and Ellie has this little pad with that he'd been writing on. She wrote, "I'm sorry," and then. She walks off basically, come on, time to go or whatever. And it was an interesting close to the episode. Like I said, overall, I liked 4 and 5 as a thing. Yes, there were a lot of things in there that didn't work well. And the fact that we got Discount Governor, and like I said, her motivation was that her brother, the leader of the resistance, got killed, and then her complete psychopathic tendencies got let loose.
We didn't need her. She was unnecessary.
But she ended up, you're right, she wasn't unnecessary. Many of the events that unfolded could have taken place without her, without having someone to just dislike. I mean, even if it had been Perry and his guys running the show, you still could have had a similar, not same events, and characters who were more. I thought she was a very unbelievable character. We just, we've talked about that.
And if you had, and if you would have had, and if you would have, and if you would have had, and if you would have had, if you would have had Perry and his guys that were in the show, for me that's a much more imposing threat.
Yes, yeah,
they're organized at that point.
She's just crazy, and she's making bad decisions throughout the episode. With the killing of the doctor to the hiding of the possible zombie incursion into the city, all for the same reasons. It was just bad. Okay. Oops. Damn me. I don't even know.
I guess for me, like in the game, because you had gotten to spend so much time with Sam and Henry, like that one scene at the end when Henry like takes his own life, it's heart-wrenching because you got to love these characters. You got to hope like, hey, maybe they all escape together, because that's the point. They're trying to get out together. They start this camaraderie, like Ellie and Sam are like really bonding, and like Henry is becoming trustworthy, and then you see that and you're like your heart just gets ripped out of your chest, like in the game at that scene.
But during the episode, and this is the problem that we talked about earlier with turning a video game into episodic television. The side missions, which are fun to play in the game, don't work extremely well as an episode, and that's where you end up with these flaws. And we have a conversation about why did they even bother employing these characters in the first place? Because ultimately, they didn't really do a whole lot to get Joel and Ellie where they need to get. Yes, they figured out the tunnels, but
based on the show's storyline, if they never met Henry and Sam, they never would have had to have met them.
That's about it. So that's episodes 4 and 5. Like I said, they're basically an episode. I like them better than episode 3, though. I still like them better than episode 3.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it had Joel and Ellie in it, and they were actually doing stuff.
Yes.
So
episode 3 is an unforgivable piece of television for me.
Garbage.
Followed closely by episode 6.
Well, actually, episode 7, I like episode 6 better than I liked episode 7. I fucking hate episode 7. Episode 4 and 5 I thought were fine. Episode 6, again, it's funny because things happen, but there's not a lot that happens in this episode. You see, let's go on the journey. Let's go on the journey through the episode.
I love these two characters. I wish we.
This was my favorite part of the episode. Was this again
the opening moments?
Like spin-off from the last spin-off, The Best of Us, with these two old American Indians in the mountain just living there, and like
it was just hilarious because you see where do we start off here? Oh, okay, hang on. Okay, yeah, sorry, I had to find my spot here. There's so many things I get lost in, reviewing the many episodes. There's a dude walking towards a cabin carrying some rabbits. This is the actor Graham Greene, who, if you've seen him in many, many things, he's much older now. I'm glad they gave him some employment because he was great in this.
Big role was that show, 5 years, Western.
He was in Dances with Wolves.
Right.
That's one.
The TV show.
The Die Hard with a Vengeance. He played a cop.
I think he was also. I think he was also in. I believe he was in Last of the Mohicans too. I think.
Oh,
he played one of the Indian elders.
Dude's been around for a minute though. He's an established actor, usually character piece. So,
Zax.
He walks into the cabin. He is a national treasure. He is. he walks into the cabin and he sees his wife, and she's going to give him this side look, and he's just going about putting his shit down and whatever. And he turns around, and then there's Joel with a pistol on him, and he's like, oh shit. And
hey, what's
it's
up?
funny though, because his wife and he are just having this bickering match. They're just kind of arguing while this is all going on. And he looks, he's like, you made them soup? She's like, it was cold. And it was just, their interaction made the rest of the episode worthwhile. And Joel just basically wants information.
Right.
Where they are, and they which way is west. It's it. It's pretty limited what he wants. So he's got the map, and they're trying to. And he eventually gets the information out of him. But what's his name? Marlon is the name of the character. Tells him,
right,
because Joel asks him what's the best way to get west, and he tells him go east. You
right.
go west, you hit that river, everybody dies.
The river of death.
Seen infected, uninfected, the river of death. The dreaded river of death.
Dun, 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 dun.
I can't remember if he says it or not, but some people say it several times. There are worse things out there than infected.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. Actually, that Joel said that in the last episode, the beginning of the last episode when they were camping. Joel said that. But it's a theme, and that's a theme throughout every show like this. Humans are worse in many ways than the zombie, the infected, the whatever it is.
This is how we were before modern civilization. Humans were just like this, killing each other left and right.
Yes, the worst of humanity comes out. And even in good people, as we've discussed previously, good people are forced to make incredibly bad moral decisions to stay alive at the cost of people, at the cost of other people. They know all of these things, but they do them anyway. It's either that, or you're going to be the victim of someone else, because that's the way the world works now. Mm-hmm. So Marlon tells him that.
Wow.
So Ellie's like, you're not going to scare us. And Florence is like, well, scared him to Joel, and both her and Marlon laugh. And it's funny. So they leave. I think Ellie snags the rabbits though. And then but as they leave the cabin, and this is the first of things that we hadn't seen before that drive me crazy. Joel has what begins to be a panic attack. He stops, he leans, and you can see it coming. And she calls his name and kind of brings him back. But it's like, fuck. Why do you need to introduce this weakness into this character that we have not seen until
when I first saw it, I thought he was having heart problems.
Because he was having a heart attack?
Yeah, like he was having heart problems or something, and that was going to be in the story. It didn't occur to me. They're like, oh yeah, he's too much of a strong man that's going to show her what to do, so we got to make him weak this way. And they talk about it in the after show, like why they did it. And
I can't watch after shows. If I watch after shows, I end up hating the show because actors often will say things that make me want to kill them.
Basically, what they're trying to convey is they couldn't figure out any other way to convey that he cared about her, so they had to do this.
That was the best way.
Yeah,
that was the best way.
Wow.
So maybe the amateurish writers should have gone to Pedro Pascal, who is an accomplished actor, and say, hey, Pedro, how can we have your character convey that he cares about her?
Man, that's not good. That's
terrible. Have they not watched any episode of Mando? I'm just saying.
Yeah, he doesn't have any. He hasn't had a panic attack.
What? So they need to make Ellie a puppet?
Just Thank you, Dragon. Thank you. That was good.
Ellie grew,
Oh God, but it's the same story. It's just with guns and zombies. So they're trekking over the landscape, mountains, valleys, blah blah blah, and they arrive at the aforementioned River of Death. But it's getting late, so they decide to set up camp. Okay, got it. I kind of, the scene was interesting. There's the northern lights you can see. Which I don't know if they're actually visible from where they are. It doesn't seem like they should be, but that's
Wyoming.
Yeah,
probably not.
I don't think so. I don't know though.
They're trying to say that because there's no light with light pollution, that you can.
It's not worth it. It's not worth the northern lights to be able to see them in Wyoming to get rid of civilization.
I did like the shots of them riding of them walking and going through, and it's very snowy and everything. I thought that was pretty cool looking.
No, the long shots in this are nice. Again, I mean, it's the pacing. It brings it down a little bit, but I don't mind that in a show like this where it is establishing atmospheric kind of things. In, for instance, Andor, I had a problem with the pacing because it just took fucking forever to get anything done. This, I know exactly. This was. I don't mind the long shots in this. There's, like I said, there's a movie called The Green Knight, which you may or may not have seen or enjoyed. I like the movie a lot myself, but that director took time with his scenes and just let you absorb the landscape and the world around you, and that's what this does for me.
Okay.
So they're riding. So they set up camp and then they start talking. Joel's got a fucked up boot he's trying to fix with tape. Ellie, he breaks out a flask. Ellie asks for a sip. He lets her actually have some. So you've seen a shift in their relationship at this point, from him just immediately saying no. Then we get into a slightly darker topic about, do you think it's going to work? Meaning her blood, the cure. Is it going to work? And he says, well, Marlene seemed to think so. Let's hope for the best kind of deal.
Say yes.
I mean, who
say
fucking
yes.
knows? To just get through the day, say yes. But as a practical matter, you have no idea.
Right.
And he tells her she needs to get some rest. He'll take both watches. Of course, he sleeps all the way through the night and he wakes up with her standing watch. And he gives her a little bit of an ass to, and why didn't you wake me up? She's like, I did exactly what you told me to do. And he's like, don't do that again. She's like, well, don't sleep all the way through the night again. And I don't know if it was implied that he had too much whiskey and that's what kept him out, or if he was just beat. You don't really know. It doesn't really matter.
No.
Honestly, and Mrs. of the Empire and I have talked about this a lot. As a gentleman who enjoys a beverage, I'd say from time to time, but that would be inaccurate.
It's not like you were just taking some sips of water before stream or anything like that.
In an environment such as this, the idea of getting any kind of inebriated where you can't act fast and take care of things is
probably a bad idea.
It is. Unless you're somewhere totally fucking safe, which is almost nowhere. It's just a terrible idea. Like I said, yes, I enjoyed the drink, but dude, no, you were out in the wide open. You have no idea what's out there with you. So
yeah, you don't want to be inebriated in a zombie apocalypse.
No, you need to be at your best all the time because you're never at your best. So anyway, that's my thoughts on drinking during the zombie apocalypse. Oh God!
To survive the zombie apocalypse by Roman of the Empire. Chapter 1.
Cut back on your drinking.
My main issue, again, just from a tactical standpoint, is the next day they're packed up, they're ready to go, and they walk across a bridge completely exposed.
Yeah. So that scene. Yeah, and it's I don't know if it's a rail bridge or it's obviously not meant for cars. It's not big enough for cars. But you're right. They just kind of go ahead.
I think it is a rail bridge.
It looks like from the East Coast. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of a rail bridge. Although, of course, they're in fucking Wyoming, but whatever.
And after playing so much Fallout, I was like, there's got to be landmines on that thing.
Right? You can't just walk across the bridge with there's nobody that expect something wrong to go.
Shieldwall, that is an excellent point.
Or snipers.
That bridge should have been fucking
on the other bank.
The bridge should have been blown up, not mine. Should have just destroyed completely.
Not exist.
It wasn't in their budget.
It wasn't in their budget. So they're walking. They're talking about.
Disappointed.
Ellie asks Joel if he can teach her to hunt. He's like, well, I don't think you'd like, dressing. And they talk about the awkwardness of the term. Do I thank you for stuck here like a fucking idiot again.
Yeah, that's inside there.
This
There's
is when
their
they're
camp.
looking at the lights, and this is where they're talking about this. Oh, this is the watch. And then no, I don't have pictures of them walking.
Yeah.
Until they get to the dam.
I love this scene. I just love
Damn.
it.
Yeah, and she has to make the joke, damn. And he's like, yeah, that's fucking funny. One
thing I do like about this,
he's like, don't even ask me how it works. He just don't even ask.
In the game, they never get like extra gear. They get jackets, but never like real extra gear. But here, their gear evolves. They got like nice winter jackets, like bed rolls or sleeping bags, and they actually look like they're out here.
Well, yeah, because you're not just going through this with this type of environment without boots, without a pack, and just a jacket.
Going into the mountains of Wyoming and nothing but just tennis shoes and t-shirt and stuff is not wise.
Well, I think she has boots on now. She had
that
the sneakers on for the first couple of episodes.
Yeah, long time.
Right now she's got
and he's got
this is to indicate that time has passed. Because in the game, what it'll do is it'll say summer, then it'll say fall, then it'll say winter. And this, I think they say like 3 months later or something or whatever, like on the screen.
Yeah.
At the start of this episode, I believe, from the last one. So it's been a chunk of time. It isn't like a week later.
No, it has, because it wasn't winter yet. It was fall. I think in the last when we were in. I think it's 3 months later. I think actually they say that it's been 3 months.
Right.
Going into this episode, it was a
passage. Yeah, and so it implies that they've scavenged this gear somehow or traded for it.
Well, there should be tons of gear just from all the dead towns.
Well, that's also true, but then you have to go into towns, which creates a danger all on its own.
Those dinky little towns were probably like one mushroom guy wiped everyone out or whatever.
Yeah, but one mushroom guy is now 20 mushroom guys.
I mean, like the further west you go, the more spread out civilizations tend to be. So I can see where it'd be easier to like get gear like this. Like they've been going through the mountains. They've probably seen a cabin somewhere and they raided the cabin or something like that. So I can see realistically they would have some nicer gear passing through like more sparsely populated areas.
We got Vex in the back there.
Oh, right on.
Bring her up.
Oops.
Whoops.
Oh, did I just kick her out? I kicked her out. Sorry. We brought her in. We kicked her out. We brought her back. Hey, Vex, how are you?
I think you're muted.
Muted.
Hello. There we go.
There we go.
How's it going, guys?
It's going. Right. We're talking about surviving in the wilderness.
You've gotten into an episode where I had a lot of consistency questions.
Oh yes.
Right. Then I'll just sit back and.
I mean, most of the show, like, there are some spots in it where they mirror the game really well, and they do really well. And then there are other things where they do their own thing, like with the Lieutenant Karen that's in charge of everything. And I'm just like, we didn't need that. There were so many other ways you could have gone with that. Like we didn't need Lieutenant Karen that's wanting the world to burn down. So yeah, there's.
It just hit me. I would pay good money for a parody of this, where they replace the Last of Us mushroom people with the mushroom people from Super Mario.
Yes. You can just like hear boing.
Yeah.
Boing, have you guys already reviewed the episode where the invasion happens in that little town in Kansas? What is it called? The zone with Henry and Sam.
Yeah, we covered that.
We just got done with Henry and Sam.
Yeah, and what do we call her? Discount Governor Karen?
Discount, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I had a lot of issues with that episode as well. Specifically that Harry died and he got his head viciously ripped off. But
I did
And
not.
he was our favorite from the town as well.
Yeah.
he would have totally been in charge.
Well, that episode met all the woke criteria. You had a white Karen harassing minority people with her armed militia.
Check marks. All of the check marks have been boxed off.
So now we've passed the first river of death. They've had their overnight camping, and now they are at the dam.
The dam.
We're on
Ellie quips, maybe this is the river of death. And Rutrow, Joel brings out the map. Oh shit, and then the riders come in. And this actually goes back to that, why wasn't that bridge either mined or blown up? Because if they're trying to isolate themselves, that would definitely have been the way to do it.
Well, in the game, they're using it for electricity, so that's why they don't blow it up.
No, the dam is fine, but the bridge, that first bridge.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the dam.
I may have said dam, and if I did, I apologize. I may have.
Which, for all we know, it could have been days between then and now. So
that's true.
Wait, I mean, didn't they say in the episode that this dam doesn't work anymore?
Right.
It hadn't for a number of years, and then
they're trying to get it up and running in the game.
They have power though.
Mm-hmm. This is how they have power. They got it up and running a few years ago, is what they say.
In the game, they had it running and then it broke, and then when they get up to it, it's full of people, and they're trying to fix it. So they actually run into all the people right here.
Okay. So here in this, it's the riders, and they surround Joel and Ellie. They tell them to kind of separate, put down their weapons. Everybody does what they're told, and then they bring out the dog. And
this makes no sense.
The virus sniffing dog. So it goes up to Joel. Everything's fine. Then it starts growling at Ellie, and then it's licking her, and everybody's laughing, and everything's okay.
No. She is infected.
Yeah, remember in the end of the first episode, right? After they get Ellie and they're getting ready to escape, right? They had that beeper thing, and the beeper thing picked up that she was infected. So how is it, like, by scientific means, we know that dogs are, their scent is far better than anything that we can make.
My response is, what is the dog detecting? Like, when it smells a mushroom person, is it just smelling the rotting flesh of their corpse turning into mushrooms? And if that's the case, then that would just seem to make sense. On the other hand, so.
Well, see, like with dogs, like with bomb sniffer dogs or with drug dogs, like the sense of smell, like they're able to determine, like they're looking for a specific scent. And I don't think that they would have, like, if they were looking for a rotting corpse, that's a different scent than the mushroom corpse, because like they would have trained this dog to smell out like if you were infected before you became a corpse. And technically they're not corpses because the fungus or whatever needs living tissue. So
so the thing about dogs, and the Mando, you're right. They are designed for a specific scent, and they can smell just the most minuscule amount. I mean, there were folks I knew someone who had gone out to with some friends, and they partied it up because he was heading out the next day. Well, he almost got arrested because one of the dogs was going nuts. He hadn't changed his clothes yet, and he could smell a small amount of coke that was still like dust on him.
So what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas then?
Well, let's explain the scene for what it is. It was the writer's way of trying to get the audience to go, "Oh no," and then be like, "Oh, it's okay."
It's okay. The dog is not good at his job.
If they
they wanted some tension in the scene
on its head, Joel would have snapped and killed them all. Don't touch my girl.
So I that would have been better. So one of the writers asks,
Oh, go back, Roman. Go back. I swear to God, this is a
Where?
joke. This is a worldwide joke. Go back to the scene before where they're surrounded.
Oh, here.
Look at they're in a circle with guns pointed in a circle.
No, Matt is
What idiot
100% right here.
choreographed
Tactically,
this
this is fucking moronic.
Did someone say maybe we can get the Polish firing squad joke on screen and no one will notice?
Oh,
Is that what they said? That's
yep.
the old joke about that. The Polish firing squad in the circle. I mean, this is a joke. When I watched it the first time, I was like this, working on my work with the databases. I was like, no, I didn't just see that. I went back and did it again. I'm like, no, I must be having I couldn't believe they put this scene on. That's how hilariously bad it was. And
I mean, it's the apocalypse. People aren't like trained to know
look
better.
Look where the center of the circle is. They're pointing at the center of the circle, or no
right, and it's been 20 years, so you think they kind of knew this as well.
Like, just jump into the river of
hey, if we gather in a circle and shoot the person in the middle, we lose guys. Why do you think that is? Figure that out yet?
I mean, I think it's quite obvious that the writers of this show
don't know what the fuck they're doing.
That they never at least took the time to consult anyone who is of a the military mind or something.
I can imagine Joel going, Ellie, just duck, and then go.
Just get down, Ellie. You'll be fine.
I didn't believe that word, Joel.
It'll be fine.
Everything sooner or later
will be fine.
That's why Joel is smiling there. He's just like, we just gotta lay down. We're fine.
So one of the writers asks what they're doing, what's their deal? And Joel's like, I'm just looking for my brother. And she's like, what's your name? And of course he says, Joel. And something transpires and everybody's friends now. And they all ride up to, and I don't have a shot of this. I wish I did. Because I actually like the look of the fort. I thought the fort looked really cool. This big, giant fortified wall, like something out of the Old West or King Kong. But it was really impressive. And you can believe that wall repels people, but they're not getting in necessarily. But for me, there would be gangs of raiders around there trying to burn that shit down all the time to get in and fuck it up and take what you have, because that's what this world is now. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But
do you have a picture of the wall so that way the audience can see the wall?
No, I got the impression that it was a remote area per se. So like,
yeah,
they keep quiet.
But it's a great wall. It's the greatest wall that's ever lived.
It's the best wall. We're gonna make all of the mushroom people pay for the wall. It's just gonna be the best wall ever, and no one can come inside except for when we let them come inside. But no one can burn it down, even though it's wood.
I have seen lots of walls. This is a fine wall.
To be fair, I don't think the mushroom people have a lot of income. But that's,
well, the circular wall will protect them from the circular firing squad. If they
no. So they go in, and it's a normal looking town. Inside this wall, it's a regular bustling town with all the activities you would see.
The best wall.
It's the greatest town. It's a wonderful town just like across America.
Oh, God damn it!
It's
over. It's on. It's it, folks. We're out.
I've been to all these towns.
Sorry, I'm just that little I'm the little monkey with the wrench and just throw it. And I'm just like,
put the wrench down.
But I like my wrench.
So they're in the town. It's a regular town. It looks like
it's a wonderful wrench. It's a great
Smallville, fucking America. And God damn it, Joe.
Sorry.
This is the greatest town of towns in America.
Roman continues to
the best town. We have the best people in this best.
Okay, sorry, Roman.
Sorry, I'm done.
Myself off the stream.
I love live streams.
Fucking Joel sees his fucking brother building some fucking thing, and he's like, "Hey, Tommy, And he comes over. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm here to save you." And I thought that was
what are you doing here? Not just like, oh man, I haven't seen you for years. What are you doing here?
Well, also in the game, like in the game, they make this point to say that like the last time Joel saw his brother hated his guts, and he says, "I never want to see you again." Like,
oh really?
So,
no, yeah.
In the game, it's like Ellie's like, "So what's it gonna be like for us to meet your brother?" And Joel's like, "Well, I don't know, because the last time I saw him, he said he hated my guts and he never would see me again. So we'll see how this goes."
And they even alluded to this earlier in like episode 1 or 2 when they were talking about him too, that they had done some really bad things and Joel hadn't been like the good guy he is now.
Right.
So
well, and that's where you get a lot of the tension once we get into Jackson itself. So we shift now to the mess hall in Jackson, and again, everything looks it takes you out of things because everything looks so normal.
Okay, and I hate this scene. I hate the scene because I hate Ellie in this scene. I can't stand this little cunt. She is such a little cunt.
Well,
that's right. I said it.
She's all scarfing down like an animal. And Joel just kind of gets a sense of his surroundings. I mean, he's like, "Oh, we're actually in a civilized place." And he asked her to mind her manners. And she points over at this girl. She's like, "Well, what about her? She's not minding her manners." And it's like, okay, that's fantastic.
They plugged this chick in because this chick comes into play in the second game.
Right. I mean,
and they're trying to like plug her in there.
This was, I think, and I know what we're talking about, but I think it's unnecessary and very randomly placed. I mean, unless we have some weird flashback to remember Ellie yelling at the girl in the mess hall.
They're not plugging anything, if you catch my drift.
There's no plugging in of
anything. Be a better
anything.
way to do that. I immediately regret my word choice.
It was a fine word. It was a great word, Roman. It's a wonderful word. It's the best word ever.
I think they had Ellie act this way to try to convey that she's been on the road for a very long time. She hasn't interacted with a lot of the people other than Joel, and
but she's like this but she's like this to everybody. This is nothing.
She has a moment.
Role model is
You're
Joel.
right. Yeah,
She's
Joker.
like Joel.
Right. Yeah, and she's emulating Joel in a lot of ways. I mean, I know we're not supposed to show that in modern shows that women are learning from men, but that's exactly what's happening.
But when Joel does
Cancel the
that,
whole
he's
show.
been very coy about it, is the difference. He's not so overt and like just unnecessarily aggressive. He's very cool and calm about it, as we saw in episode 3 with the flashback when they meet the gay couple, right? Mm-hmm. So this just seems like the same kind of Ellie, especially since like there's been like some months that have passed since the previous episode 2, right?
Yes,
I was thinking
3 months.
Over these 3 months, your character has not changed whatsoever. Even the way you interact with Joel, you haven't developed a deeper bond being on the road with this person who's also become your default guardian. So just from a character standpoint, like the way she's acting doesn't make any sense.
Right. And also like just going back to the last episode with Henry and Sam, like when there's a gun being pointed at Joel, she's like the logical one, like, hey, let's be friends, let's hang out. And then all of a sudden I hate everyone.
Yeah.
She's probably a little traumatized by, them two dudes getting killed,
That was the other weird thing about this episode is it took her months to finally tell Joel about what happened with Sam and Henry. Again, another thing, it's like it's like no bonding has happened whatsoever in all this travel together.
If it has, it's not well conveyed. So it's
very
really not. I mean, it's
conveyed.
not until later in the episode, and we'll get to that when you get a sense of how attached she is to him at this point. But so Joel asks, what's the lady's name? Maria, if she would leave for a second so they could have family time. And Tommy's like, well, she is family. Ellie picks up on it. Oh, shit. They're married. Terrific. That's fantastic.
Just one thing I'd like to point in here. Remember that Joel had a interracial coupling as well. And now he is also in an interracial couple. I'm just once you go black in this family,
they never
apparently.
mention Joel's wife or,
Wow.
That's true. They
his
don't.
daughter's
Wow,
mother. They never
Vex.
say one word about her.
All right.
Now in the game,
Checking them boxes.
Exactly.
Them
So-
boxes are checked
in
hard.
the game, his brother is married to somebody named Maria, except she's white, maybe half Hispanic,
Mhm.
and her father was the guy that ran the town.
The town before,
Right.
okay.
And then when and the electric plant, and then when he passed on, she took over.
And
in
so you
this.
get a tour of the
Right.
town after this little meeting.
Okay.
It formed 7 years ago. It was a town of 300 it was a gated community, and then it expanded. They got, sewage, plumbing, everything that we had before. And then they takes this effing turn, which irritates me to death. And Joel's like, so you're communist. And Tommy's like, no, we're not communist. And then Maria's like, yeah, we're communist.
Well, it's because just the way they're explaining it, all shared, equal this, democratically voted on, and I'm like, oh dear God. And I had just watched Ant-Man earlier this day, so I had enough the Marxist propaganda for a day that'll last me like the next 5 years. I'm just saying.
The communism where people live in a commune is a concept that was stolen by Marx and Engels for their nonsensical economic system. Like a small group of people living in a small, like a cooperative community in a commune, like 20, 30, 50 people, that's not communism by Marx and Engels' definition.
I was going to say, and they even like later on, you see that, they're trading and bartering, which is another thing that typically would not happen in a communist society, right? So this is more just like a traditional, just little barter and trading community where everyone's pulling their load. I don't know why they needed to label it. They needed to make communism look good.
You know why? You know why?
Gotta check that box. Come on, box checking again.
But you're 100% right. This was a traditional frontier community back in the day, because that's how everything had to work.
Mm-hmm.
This type of concept that they're talking about doesn't. And so for all of you out there who are curious about this, it doesn't work on large scale.
No.
It simply cannot support itself. And everything falls apart and becomes anarchy.
Historically, once you go above about 500 people is when it all starts to fail.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense.
Tribal living is not communism as Marx and Engels define it. Their economic doesn't work on any scale unless you conquer and take stuff from other people. That's the only way that economic system works. What the writer trying to do here is saying, oh, this is what we're talking about when we talk about communism and socialism, living like they do in this town. When in reality, they're not talking about that. They're talking about Venezuela.
So don't think that's what this is out there in audience land. So they're on the tour. Ellie meets a freaking horse. And then Maria and Ellie go off so Ellie can get cleaned up, and it gives Joel and Tommy some time to hang out and have an actual conversation.
And have a proper drink.
And whiskey. They go into this bar. So there's a bar in this town.
Which is
I would feel safer drinking here than in the field. So it works better in this environment.
I just want to ask, as someone who actually works in a bar, if that town has been around for 7 years, that bar is still very well stocked. That would have been.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're making their own Joker at this point. I would think that they probably found a warehouse. Inevitably, someone always does figure out a way to make booze, make better booze, make beer.
Moonshine is a thing.
There are warehouses in the U.S., and I mean like thousands and thousands of them that have like literally like millions of gallons of alcohol in them.
Well, yeah,
but but you have to find them. That's a trip I would be willing to go on. I would be willing to put myself on the line to bring that back to the community.
I
am that kind of guy. I'm a giver. Across the river of death for you people. I did this.
Yeah.
Roman,
who are you calling you people? Hold on.
Hold on. You're just assuming that we want to identify as people.
Roman, you'll appreciate this anecdote. So in World War II, my grandpa was in a scouting platoon, right? So after they went in Normandy and all that, his platoon would scout ahead. And eventually the colonel said, I'm not going to send my guys wherever you guys are going because all you MFers do is look for the old wine cellars and get the whole company drunk.
But it was great wine. It was the greatest wine ever.
It was actually.
Perfectly.
That would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
See, now that's funny. That's a good war story. So Tommy and Joel finally are talking. And Tommy's asking questions, but Joel honestly isn't being straight with him either. He's asked what happens to Tess, things like that, and Joel does not give him straight up answers. Very standoffish.
Constipated in this scene.
What's that?
Pedro Pascal looks constipated in this scene.
Well,
always looks constipated. To be fair,
Agreed.
He asks about Ellie. He makes up a story. She's the daughter of a Firefly bigwig, and he's trying to get her wherever the hell he's trying to get her. I don't know if he actually says west, or he's just trying to get to it. There's a Firefly camp out there, and they know that. Tommy isn't buying this either, though. You can tell that he's not into this. And then Joel quips, though, he's like, well, with you and I, we have a better chance of getting this done. It's, because Tommy tells him it's dangerous territory. And then Tommy's like, yeah, I'm not really down with that, buddy. And then he's like, well, and he's going to be a father now. And this pisses Joel off.
Yeah, so basically the boss has spoken. I'm going to stay here now.
And also, Joel thinks,
Don't get married.
I don't think he's incorrect in his thoughts, that they didn't want him here. And this is, Vex, what you were talking about before, because his associations earlier on in the apocalypse, when he had to do some fucked up stuff, they didn't want that element showing up at Jackson. Mm-hmm. So Joel's right. He's like, hey, he's getting that vibe. You didn't want me here. And now you started this all over. And Tommy's like, I get for you life stopped, but it didn't happen that way for all of us.
I sensed there was like a bit of jealousy here as well, because he lost everything at the beginning of this. He's stuck with a girl that at this point you still kind of get the vibe he doesn't care about much. And here's his brother who's living in this little utopia and he's got a family coming. And it's like, how come you have it all kind of deal? And I'm stuck doing this, having fucking panic attacks and shit.
How dare you be happy?
Yeah.
Be miserable like me.
I mean, but you I mean, as a human, you do understand that misplaced anger. He's been out on his ass all this time. He's been doing fucked up stuff in Boston. And now Tommy hasn't been gone. Or do we know how long he's been gone? We don't actually. Do we have a good timeline on that?
I think it's been a couple of years.
Because we know that he'd gone off to do Firefly shit, and then he just kind of dropped off the grid. Mm-hmm. That's why they knew Wyoming was,
in the game. In the game, they talk about how Tommy likes to join stuff and then leave. He gets bored with it, and then he leaves. And he gets bored with it. So he does all these things. I'm going to do this. No, wait, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to go over here and do stuff. So he joins the Fireflies, but then he gets either dissatisfied with it or bored or something, and then he takes off. And also, I think the reason Joel feels this way is because he built up this thing in his head of this is what it's going to be like when we get back together, and it's nothing like what he thought. He
totally
thought Tommy
shattered
would need
illusions.
him. He thought Tommy'd be glad to see him, and now he's like, "Ah, man, I got a kid on the way, and I'm, shacked up with, the girl over here, and you're just going to come and throw a monkey wrench in the whole thing with your capitalist American ideals."
So Ellie gets a shower and some clothes and some other items, which
there's a very interesting item. So because remember, this was alluded to in another episode for some fucking reason.
Yes, it was.
But she gives her a diva cup.
About this.
She gives her a diva. She's like, "Oh, you probably need this." And all I was thinking during this scene is, it's been 20 years. They're trading for shit. Who else has had that diva cup? And how many else have had that diva cup?
Well,
is the other thing.
See, I didn't even consider that. I was just too far into why
it did look a little discolored to me.
Why are we talking about this? I don't. The writers must have some idea of who they think their audience is.
They definitely
only the agenda matters.
Right.
Only the agenda.
Clearly, the agenda matters. So
I do have a real quick question though. What is that thing for? So you can pee standing up, or
So instead of like women will
you're
use
furthering this conversation.
So women will use like either like pads, which lines the underwear, or they'll use a tampon, which you insert. So a diva cup basically goes inside, and it sits just below the actual uterus, and it collects the blood, and then you take it out and you clean it. So it's just a more convenient way.
Okay. So it's
We're
recyclable.
not going to make a clip of that later, folks, just in case you're curious.
Educational.
I thought it was so that she could.
You didn't know you were learning about feminine hygiene today, did you?
Is that a new thing?
I never wanted to hear that again.
Is that a new thing? How long has those things been around?
It's been out for some time, like at least 40, 50 years. It's been a while.
Really? Okay.
Most feminine hygiene products in use, and I know I've worked in women's healthcare for 10 years now, so I've been through seminars. It's most of the existing women's feminine hygiene products have actually been around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of new, unfortunately, but they know how it works. I mean, what else can you do?
Okay, well, now I know what it is and why she was given it.
And thank you for asking that question, Shieldwall. So she goes across the street to Maria's
the Empire.
so uncomfortable. So she goes where Maria is. There's a little shrine above the fireplaces, have the names Kevin and Sarah. And at this point,
hey, wait a minute, Roman. Due to Shieldwall asking that question, you can now call this an educational video on YouTube.
Is it tax exempt? It's a joke. So
I was educated.
I am not. No. So there's a memorial. It's got the names above it, and Ellie thinks that the kids are Maria's.
Maria's, right?
And she's like, "Oh no, Sarah was Joel's daughter." And remember, we don't know, and we basically what we learn in the scene is that Joel has told Ellie very little about himself. She doesn't know who Sarah. She didn't know who Sarah was. She didn't know she existed. And so Maria has made a misstep here.
And this is the actor busting on her Liana Mormont scowl.
Yes. The Game of Thrones child, whom she is.
Yeah.
Right. But Roman, has she made a step? Because from what I assume from what she's learned from Tommy, she kind of has an idea of who Joel is, and she's sowing a seed of distrust inside.
Oh, I see. You know what? That's a good point, Joker. I hadn't considered that because she's cutting her hair. That's all very nice, but she does. And as she's getting ready to leave, she throws out the line: "The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust." You're right. Now that you say that makes me look at the scene in a different light.
Well, she even says like you don't know who Joel is, right? She's intentionally trying to do that. Yeah,
she knows all the stories of who Joel was, who he is not anymore. But in her mind, she doesn't have any of that distance between what Tommy has told her and who this person has become these many years later.
And remember, children, we discussed this earlier. Everything that happens in a post-apocalyptic setting show, you have to interpret in the worst way possible, like the most evil way possible.
Yes.
Yeah. So I took this scene as she waits for her, the haircut thing. She may have needed her ends trimmed or whatever, but she now has because now she has her as a captive audience. So she can't go anywhere until she's done, and this gives her the opportunity to plant those seeds of distrust.
Mm-hmm.
No, good thoughts there, guys. That's excellent.
But the counterpart to that is it goes nowhere as a plot.
Well, not yet. I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to revisit these people again, though. I can't speak to it because I simply don't know.
I hope not, because Maria, I can't stand that actress.
Well, if we're lucky, they did the Walking Dead style, so this town's been destroyed and the aftermath of the main characters leaving.
Probably.
Some mushroom horde is eating them all now.
So Maria takes Ellie to go see a movie because they play movies at the town hall.
Sorry, before you move on from this scene, because there's another thing that Maria reveals here, right? And this is another inconsistency that I noticed. So she reveals here that she's pregnant, right? And she also reveals that, well, no, we find out earlier, but she reveals here that she used to be a district attorney.
That's right. Yes.
So I was putting 2 and 2 together. So I'm like, okay, you go through, basic university, then you go to law school, and that's like, 3 to 5 years, depending on what you do. And then you be just a general lawyer or something. And by the time you become a district attorney, you're at least your mid-30s to 40s. And that would have been before the apocalypse. So now 20 years have passed. So this woman, if we're just
should
playing
be
it
like
safe,
50, 60.
she's in her 50s and she's pregnant.
She doesn't look
that happens all the time.
Okay.
It's a very common.
That's what I was thinking when I saw the show. I was like, would she get her college degree when she was 12?
Or you know what? It's communist paradises allow you to conceive over 50. That's all. So that's what you need to know here.
I mentioned I work in women's health, and I know that women who get pregnant after a certain age, there's an increasing risk of them dying during pregnancy. So the first thing that came to my head is we're going to see a plot where this woman dies in pregnancy. That's the first thing that came to my head.
Oh, no. They did that like 17 times during House of Dragon. But HBO also, I think, hates child. So it is what it is.
They also had better health care in House of the Dragon than they do.
I'm just saying.
They may have.
At least they had maesters there.
Ellie,
and they didn't shoot him either.
Wait, what?
And they didn't shoot.
They didn't shoot their maesters.
No! I got my thoughts got really wandered there. So Tommy leaves the town hall. Ellie follows after him, and now we're in a workshop where Joel is fucking dealing with that stupid fucking boot still. It's like, dude, let it go. So Tommy brings him some real boots, and I hated this scene a lot. It wasn't like my least favorite scene, but it was definitely not a great scene. And basically, Joel just collapses. He spills the beans. Tess is dead. Her dying wish was to get Ellie to the doctors because Ellie's actually infected, Tommy, by the way. But she's immune. She's immune. And I don't think I can get her there because I'm a general fuck up. Please, Tommy, take her. Tears are streaming down his cheeks. I'm too old. I'm deaf and slow. Please do this.
Ignore the fact that I was a ninja an episode ago.
Yeah, I was making 300 yard headshots on the move with with no scope. Wait, he had a scope, but you know what I mean.
I'm too old.
In the dark, in twilight or the dark, like not even in broad daylight,
And he had a screeching Karen to listen to
deal with as well. So he's like, you do this as atonement for all the terrible things we did for your child who's on the way. Playing also the guilt card in there as well. This is a dick move. Hey, Copa.
Copa.
This scene, like I said, this was everything that Joel has not been. He had his panic attack, fine. But this scene it's a man coming apart, and this is not the man that we have seen. Is it because he's with his brother? He feels comfortable. He can fucking unravel now. He's going to disregard his responsibility for the child who he has taken across the country. This is just very uncharacteristic of Joel. It's fucking stupid. It drove me nuts. Anyway, what did you guys?
I can imagine Pedro Pascal walking up to Ryder and saying, "Look, I need a scene where I get really emotional so we can nominate me for Best Actor for the Screen Guild Awards or whatever. So we're going to do that in the next episode when I meet my brother. So I'm going to write it. Don't even bother. I'm just going to ad-lib it, and my brother and his brother just sort of sits stoical. Doesn't even say anything. It's like.
So we've already, we haven't come to it yet, but we've had, I'm going to say 2.5 episodes of basically flashback fillers, right? I say half because of the whole Sam and Henry thing. It feels here this was an opportunity, instead of giving us filler episodes for characters that we don't fucking care about, that we'll never see again. Maybe it would have been nice to see some of that time that Ellie and Joel are traveling together to build up why Joel is acting the way he is in this scene. Because, like you pointed out, polar opposite to what we've seen this entire time. So this would have been a really great opportunity for us to finally have an opportunity to actually give a shit about either of your two leading characters.
But,
but you
Vex,
skipped it all.
They slapped 3 months later on the screen.
Yeah. There's so much that, like, the last time we saw them, they had just buried two people they cared about, and they acted really shocked and really affected by it. And then suddenly, again, prime opportunity for us to actually fall in love with your lead characters, and you skipped over it for no reason.
Yeah, us as the audience, like, we don't get a chance to actually grieve. It's just kind of like it's emotional whiplash. Like one episode we're grieving, the loss of a kid and his brother, and then the next episode, we just completely forgot all about them. Mm-hmm. Bye.
Well, that's the video game nature, though. That's what we were talking about.
Well, no, like, this is
transferring it into episodic television.
The comparison is sorry,
development. Nah, it'll be fine.
Because, like, the comparison to this show is The Walking Dead, because that's really the last major zombie show we had. And whenever there was a major character that would die of the main group, there were episodes where we felt the grief, where we could see how everyone was adapting to this person now missing. And that's so it gave us a reason to actually connect with the characters more and care about them. Completely disregarded that here. Completely.
Well, they also, with Walking Dead, they took their time to develop the characters. It wasn't an episode, you got a character and then they were gone. So you don't care. I mean, again, that's what you get here.
This is a joke I make in our chat a lot because I really think that this girl has FASD in real life.
Wow.
Her and Greta Thunberg.
She's got the size. Look.
The same cloth.
How dare you?
No, Copa's not. I don't think
the
he's wrong. I
Bitcoin
can't even
girlfriend.
admonish him. He's not wrong. So Joel finishes his weepy conversation with Tommy, goes over to the house where remember, Ellie followed Tommy. So she heard all of this. And now she's up in her room in the house, rummaging through some girl's diary, thinking about how weird and simple things were. And then Joel's gonna talk, and then she basically says, "Just say what you're gonna say. You're dumping me. You're dumping me with your brother. You don't want to deal with me anymore." Then she says something really fucking stupid. "You don't know what loss is. You don't know what loss is. I'm not Sarah." What the fuck, Ellie? You just dropped like 10 tons of ammunition on this dude. He doesn't know what loss is? That's one of the dumbest things she could have said. And then throwing Sarah, I guess she's an angry teenager. Okay, angry teenagers say stupid things. No, you're
She
fucking
literally
not.
saw Tess die in front of them, and she knew who that was to Joel. Just episodes earlier.
It goes back to what I said about the way Ellie is made out to be in this show. In the show, she is a cunt. She's an absolute.
They could have entirely justified our comment there if they did something in the next episode that wasn't the stupid storyline they did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the next storyline is terrible. We'll get there. We'll get to the dreadful episode that is on the rise.
Whatever, it's like.
So Joel leaves. And it's
rightfully so.
It's just like, and then we're in the next morning. And Ellie's just sitting on her bed with all her shit packed, ready to go. And you hear the knock on the door, and it's Tommy, of course, because he's agreed to do this. They just walk to the stables. They don't say anything. When they get to the stable, who's there? It's Joel.
I just couldn't leave yet.
And he said I was going to steal a horse and I was going to go. I think a very poorly veiled lie. He's like, Ellie deserves a choice, and Ellie throws the bag at him and is like, "Okay, we're going."
And this is where it's different than the game. In the game, they have the same almost shot for shot scene in the bedroom where she's like, "I'm not your daughter," and you don't know what loss is and all that. And then he goes out and she leaves in a huff or whatever. The next day, though, she's going to leave with Tommy and they're on. See, in the game, they stay at the power plant. They never make it to the town. You only see the town in the background. But so her and Tommy are on the horse, and then Joel's there, and then Joel's like, "Well, I'm going to take you anyway. Let's go." And I feel like it was done better in the show where he was like, "I'm giving you a choice. Like I've been through enough with you, and I respect you enough that I'll give you the choice. Do you still want me? That's old and broken and cranky and yells at you and stuff, or do you want Tommy?" And without hesitation, she picked him. So I thought that was good. I like that part of the show.
Yeah. Well, that is where you find. I mean, even with her fight with him, you do feel her sense of attachment to him, even though it's poorly built over these last 5 episodes getting to this point. You see it, but it's like you never saw the build to it. So that's why that's why their fight is jarring, because it's almost a fight between two strangers, even though they're not two strangers.
Right. And it's like it's implied that by them doing this, that you're supposed to get, oh, well, in the last 3 months, they really formed a bond.
Well, clearly.
And they're going to treat it like that's what's happened going forward. So for the rest of the episode and into the next one and whatever, it's gonna be like that.
Right. So they're on their way now to. So Tommy gives him his rifle as well, which is like a better rifle than he had, and they're on their way to the Eastern Colorado University. Along the way, there's a funny scene with them shooting, and I actually enjoyed that scene where Ellie's shooting. They've set up a target, and Ellie's missing. She's like, it's off. The scope must be off. And then Joel just takes it and he's just boom right through the center of the target, and the target's called Asshole, which is funny. And that was a good bonding scene, and that's the kind of thing, frankly, I wish we'd seen
that the show lacks.
Yeah, because and that's what you were saying when Matt, you were saying it, when Ellie and Joel are together, the scenes work for the most part. The fight scene didn't work so well, but for the most part. But that the bonding scene with the rifle and the target shooting, I thought was fun. And then they finally get to
Monkey Town.
The monkeys. The monkeys were funny. So they were obviously lab monkeys, and now they've overrun the campus, fucking doing monkey stuff. But they get to the hall where the fireflies. What was that, Matt?
It's like 20 years later. Shouldn't there be a lot more of them?
No, in the game clarifies it. Those monkeys. So the fireflies were there until just recently, and they were using them as lab monkeys. And there's a note that this guy releases the monkeys, so they had just recently been released within the last couple of months.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's kind of alluded to too in the fact that all of the papers that are scattered on the ground are very they're fresh, right?
Right. They had just left within probably a month or something. And in the game, one of the notes says, "Is one of these damn monkeys bit me?" And then, of course, that is implied as how they're like zombies running around in there, because somehow these. See, I don't understand if animals can get the virus.
I don't. It certainly doesn't seem like it does. But that's a plot point that doesn't make any sense to me. If it can inhabit us, it can inhabit a monkey. It can inhabit another animal, which would mean the entire population of, everything is getting taken out.
It might be like avian bird flu or something, where only birds can catch it and people can't. So that is a possibility. All I'm saying is I don't know how you would use monkeys to test it, but apparently in the game somebody got bit by one because he was letting him out. He didn't want him to starve to death, and one of the monkeys was all crazed from the infection and it bit him, and then he turned. But you never see it. It's only implied in. There's like these little tape recorder things you can find, like how doctors use, and those are scattered around, and that's how you piece the story together. What's happening in the game? Yeah.
So they anyway, the monkeys are everywhere. They go in where the fireflies are gone. There's a note that says Salt Lake City. So they know they're on their way to Salt Lake City.
Lovely town.
That's what I hear. Aren't you? You're not legally allowed to go there anymore, though.
I said I'm legally not allowed, but I make my presence.
The law? We don't need no stinking law.
It's a law. So of course, as they're getting ready to go, men with guns show up because men with guns always show up. Things go hostile really fast. One of them's got a bat. Joel and the dude have a kerfuffle. The bat breaks. Joel kills the dude, but Joel ends up with a big chunk of baseball bat in his abdomen.
And pulls it out.
Yeah, and he pulls it out. This is a bad move because now you've just any sealant that thing was providing is now gone, and you were just gushing. So they get on the horse, and this is actually I think I have the monkeys in here.
So where this is
fighting,
also
shooting. Oh, here it is.
In the game in the fight, he falls onto a piece of concrete with rebar sticking out of it. Ellie has to pull him off of it. So it's way worse in the game. And it goes totally through him. It goes all the way through him. And this, it's just the baseball bat.
So unless he has a really big gut, I mean, which is possible, that should have penetrated his organs, and he should be dying.
No, that's a fatal. This is a fatal wound because when he pulls it out, it's several inches long. There's no way that he is not bleeding to death internally right now.
There's no way he make there. Yeah, there is no way he makes it to their stop alive.
No. And the next episode opens up all kinds of other problems with a wound like this. So they're on the horse. Ellie's blasting away. It's a nice getaway scene. And then they finally get far enough away, and Joel just slumps, falls off the horse, turns white. She starts crying, and she's like, I can't do this without you. And then you hear Depeche Mode again, Never Let Me Down, sung, in a very mournful way. It's not the kind of upbeat ditty that you know. That's episode 6.
I did like the way that ended because you really felt like, man, she is effed if he dies.
Oh, she's screwed. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you could really see it in her face that she didn't want him to die, not only because she knows that she's screwed if she doesn't, but it's Joel. And you kind of felt that's maybe the closest I felt them together in the whole entire season. And so I was like, all right, this is really going somewhere. This next episode is going to be awesome. She's going to help him and they're going to bond.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be like
levels.
Well, for a whole 30 seconds.
but let's subvert your expectations just a little more.
Man, I didn't realize they could get subverted as much as they did going into episode 7. As soon as we got off the beaten path, I was like, motherfucker, they did it again.
Oops, they did it again.
So we're in. Please never do that again.
Do it again. Do it again.
That was the greatest song ever.
Again.
I love it. It was the greatest impression.
I know. Roman's gonna have to cut that out for copyright now. It was so good.
Roman, I'll cheer you up, Roman. I'll cheer you up.
The copyright zombies out there. That's so we open up with the episode and they're in a shelter, they're like I guess it's a cabin or whatever. Hello, cat.
It's a house.
Vex Electronica.
Much like this show, cats have mind control parasites.
If you notice in the opener, there's like a blood trail, and it's implied that she used the horse to drag him, and then she found like an empty house or something, like a split level ranch style, almost like Brady Bunch.
And so Joel's laying there bleeding. He's awake though, and he tells her, go find Tommy. Go find Tommy. Of course, they've been riding for several days. It's not like Tommy's going to be. He's not like right outside the door or an hour away. Joel, you're going to lay there and you're going to die. And I guess maybe that's what he just assumes is that I'm going to lay here and I'm going to die. This leads to a stupid flashback that doesn't in context make sense. In the game, and I don't remember which one of you told me this, in the game, she takes him to a mall, which is where they're holding up and she has a safe space. And then she goes out in the mall trying to find something. But in context, that makes a lot more sense because suddenly, we're back in time and we're back at the Fedra camp. Ellie gets in a kerfuffle with some girl named Brittany while they're running laps.
So this part of the show is part of the DLC. So they did the game. The game ends. It's totally done, and they have their resolution of the story. And then they do a DLC. so that they can show it as a flashback, so they can be like, look, Ellie's gay, basically.
She's got the gay feelings.
Yeah,
She's gay.
This is where the fan base begins to divide, because there wasn't a whole lot of this garbage in the first game, and then the DLC introduces it.
Kurtzman, the guy that's wrote this episode, and he also did the DLC, he wanted to do it from the beginning, is what I'm told, but there were other people on the game that had since left, so they were like holding him in check. And then once he got in charge, he did the DLC, and then he went straight into the second one. So anyway, just to let you know that what we're watching in this episode is a DLC of the game.
I don't have any problem with her being gay.
Neither do I.
This storyline has zero bearing on the show.
That's it. That's the thing. Well, this is a 2-minute episode. This is a 2-minute episode with this was a long one too. It felt fucking long anyway. With basically an hour of filler in it. You have minute 1 with Joel saying, "Go find Tommy, go find Tommy," and then minute 2 with at the end of the episode. But you have all this bullshit in the middle of the episode that ultimately doesn't matter.
I will say this: if they had to fit this in somewhere, this is probably the place to do it.
Yeah, because so what happens in the game is, and Ellie brings Joel into a mall, and she's going to look for medicine. And then while she's looking for medicine in a mall, she gets a flashback of the last time she was in a mall.
Which makes a lot more sense.
Right? You got to tie the storyline into the episode. Like Joel's brother tied into. That's why one of the reasons Joel and Ellie weren't killed by the circular firing squad, so to speak. So let's say they had the flashback with her former girlfriend or whatever, and she didn't die. And here she's in the mall and finds a tribe of survivors where the girlfriend is in. That's why they help her. That might make some sense. Tie it in. Do something related to the plot.
Yes, Joker. Yes, Joker.
Pardon my ignorance, but what is a DLC episode?
Downloadable content. So it's
okay.
So it's like so you have a full game, and then they'll come out with think of it like extra chapters to a book or something. You're like, hey, I wonder what the hero did at the end of the book, and they were like, well, here's two chapters that will explain
expansion pack.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, an expansion pack. Yeah.
Yes, this is the expansion pack, and it expands us into nothing. So she's in the federal camp. She has the kerfuffle with Brittany, who makes a quip about, well, your friend's not here anymore to protect you. Then she beats the shit out of Brittany, and Ellie's now in an agent's office getting counseled. She's been in, isolation, think solitary 3 times. It doesn't make any difference. He's like, you're a smart girl. You're a leader. But if you keep this kind of shit up, you're going to be working for Brittany instead of the other way around. Okay, fine, whatever. I don't know, dude.
That guy was the only smart dude in the entire episode, Captain Kwong. He was like, hey, you need to be a captain. You need to be a leader, because if we fall, this whole place falls apart. It's done. That's the truest thing said in the entire show.
Again, we've talked about why I hate the Fireflies so much, because you need central authority in an environment like this. It's the apocalypse, man. Jackson is an anomaly. And I also don't think they would actually be holding up as well as they obviously, you have to have that oasis somewhere so that it can maybe fall later. But it's like a perfect community. That's an insane idea. It's very idealized. The Fedra zones are probably a lot more accurate, but you have the power of the government to help control the raiders, to keep out the zombie things, to try to work on other shit. But if you're just the terrorist trying to bring that down because you don't like a central authority, then what the fuck what are you trying to build? Kansas City is a good example of what you end up with. But that's my take on the whole Firefly business.
As a more of a anarcho-capitalist mindset, I can kind of agree to what the fuck Fireflies.
What the Fireflies want is for civilian leadership to be brought back in, for you to have elected officials. So it might still run similar to under Fedra, but because right now there's no way to challenge Fedra. If they do something you don't like, you can't be like, well, I want to vote to change these laws, or there are no laws. It's totally 100% totalitarian under their rule. What they say goes. What the Fireflies want is for there to be an election process and say, hey, I don't like this Captain Kwong dude. He's a douche. Let's get him out of here. And they don't have that. That is what they're fighting for. But it's the show portrays them
very well.
but the show portrays them more as just terrorists, and they want like
because that's what I get out of it. Like I said, I didn't play the game, so I don't have a lot.
What they want is elections to where you can change laws, and either way, it's going to have to be right. You're going to have to run a tight ship, or the whole thing is going to come apart.
So Ellie basically agrees with Captain Kwan that yes, I would rather be in charge than have to work for someone like Bethany. And then we're back in her room. She's reading that Savage Starlight comic book that we saw in episode 4. And then she falls asleep. She's looking, and there's an empty bed in her room. I'm very sad. As she falls asleep and someone breaks into the room. And of course it's her friend Riley. And who she's been out, in the zone doing things, but she wants to take Ellie out and just have a night away. This sounds like a perfectly reasonable idea. So they get out.
I'm sorry. Joker's comment there.
Oh, dear God. It's funny. It's pirate language, except not quite. It's good. Lord.
Mando, you all right there?
She may actually burst. I'm sorry. I'm not sharing pictures because I'm a fucking idiot again.
She looks
to be
so
fair,
happy.
There's not a whole lot to show in this episode.
Right, it's just the scissoring. That's all that the audience cares about is the scissoring. More scissoring.
So let me point
Riley.
Let me point one more thing out. If you go back one, so her entire room was obviously decorated by somebody that lived in the mid 80s through mid 90s and not beyond. Because she's got, it's all like her music selection is all from the 80s and mid 90s.
Mortal Kombat.
So
another thing I thought weird is she has like the little cassette player that she's listening to.
Yeah,
but at this time, like Discmans were extremely popular. Nobody was carrying around cassette players anymore.
Right.
And Discmans had been around throughout all the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what they're doing with this motif, but this is all supposed to be like whoever wrote this is a self-insert from when they were a teen in the 80s or something.
Right.
Wow.
Actually ignoring the technology.
Good
catch, dude.
Good catch. Very good catch.
So she wants to take her to her secret location. That's fantastic. They're going through the streets, blibbity blah blah blah. There's a body. They get a bottle. And this part was also a little bit weird. They get this booze bottle that's next to like a dead dude, right?
By the way, they show a bag of pills next to him, right? So he OD'd. But the other thinking I had here is, okay, yes, you're teenagers and you want to get drunk if you have the opportunity, but who's to say that guy didn't crush up all the pills and put it in the alcohol?
No, there's so many things wrong with drinking anything out of that bottle. That it gets the gibblies up.
At this point, that alcohol could have gone poisonous on its own.
What were the drugs, though?
We don't know. They were just little white pills in a baggie. That's it, right? But it's implied that he OD'd.
Well, what was it? What was it, though?
It was the snip kind.
Who knows?
Oh, which I just like how that stuff smells. That's all.
We need an expert on drugs on this show every week now.
I'll do my best.
Well, what the weird thing is then the dude falls.
Let me call
to
up
the
one of my
floor.
family members.
Like, what was that about? They're like, oh, we take the bottle and then he just collapses to the floor. Like,
yes,
that
also
didn't make any
weird.
sense.
Yeah.
It was,
no,
that was the real weird part.
Didn't. So they they end up at the help my
Chat has been lost. Chat
They're
has
at the
been
gay
lost.
mall with the gay things and the gay.
Chat is just over.
They drink the alcohol and they
fuck? Where'd everybody
continue
go?
along the rooftops.
Everybody's gone.
What?
Am I blind?
No, we're
I'm
all-
still here.
We're all still
Roman
here.
is
I can
undergoing
see you.
final metamorphosis into a
Oh,
mushroom person.
my eyes. I'm wearing my contacts and they're tired, so it made the number into a single number, and I'm like, what the fuck? What happened, Joker? So anyway, she tells her story. Riley tells her story, which on whatever escapes. She met a woman, Marlene, who thought she'd be a good fit for the Fireflies. Dance, fine. So now they're at the the secret location is finally arrived at. It's the mall.
Which another thing here, right before they get into the mall, like she's like, "Oh, that light wasn't there before," and Riley's like, "Oh." Or no, sorry, not Riley. Ellie's like, oh, they had just like opened up this area again, so there's more apartments and all this stuff. But then later on, when they turn the lights on in the mall, they're like, oh, don't worry, nobody's gonna see us because nobody comes here anymore.
The mall, turning the lights on in the mall drove me fucking insane. And I get it. She wants to show her a nice time. That's all well and good. They get on the carousel. Everything they do in the fucking mall is fucking loud. It's insanely loud. It's like, and I get that they're still in the quarantine zone. This is an off limits area within the quarantine zone, which means it's not as well patrolled as the city itself. So that yes, Fedra does kill things around here, but so you're ringing the dinner bell again.
Before they go on the carousel, right? They're looking at all the stores, which I thought was, nice because there were some callbacks you didn't think of. And they stop in front of the Victoria's Secret, and it's a model wearing one of those weird, like, Borat lace thingies, right? And for some reason, because keep in mind, Ellie is 14 and Riley is 17. So just keep those ages in mind throughout this entire gay episode, okay? She's like, oh, I'm just laughing, picturing you in it, a 14-year-old Ellie. And then we see, like, Riley's like, come on, let's go. And Ellie goes up to the window to, like, check her hair. And you see that her body almost completely, just her head's there. Her body is instead the mannequin wearing that weird thong thing. You don't see the reflection of her figure at all.
I think I blocked that out.
Yeah.
I think I'm glad I did.
It was disturbing, nonetheless, because that's what I was seeing the whole time is, okay, two gay 50-year-old men, okay, like it's useless and it irritated me still. But now you're talking about two underage girls in an apocalypse where sexuality is probably the last thing on their mind, now making sexual innuendos to each other.
But let's say, hypothetically, that teenage girls would be somewhat sexually interested, right? You can't show this on camera. This is grooming. Like, you can't like depict, we were teenagers. We all wanted to bop someone if we did it. And, you can't depict that accurately on camera though, especially with actresses who are of that age, like for example, I'm watching the Teen Wolf TV show. They're depicting this stuff, but the actors playing these teenagers are 30 years old, obviously 30 years old. Like they know, so you can't call it grooming because it's 30 years old. This is the opposite. I know this actress, Aliana Mormon actress. She's not even 15 yet. If she's
no, she's 8. She's 19 now. Both of these actresses are 19. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Are they?
Yeah.
Really?
I thought she was 15 or 16.
Really? The flat-faced girl is 19?
She's 19. Yeah.
She was 11 when she started filming Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is so far away. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But no, it's just weird because this is also another thing that you typically, even if we're talking about early 2000s, which is kind of like the last major kind of cultural time before this apocalypse, this is not a thing really even then, especially when it comes to, lesbians and all that stuff. This isn't something that was very commonly known about. Like I don't remember a lot of gay people in my school when I was growing up. There was one gay dude. It was weird. And look at how much older Riley looks compared to her is the other weird part. This girl looks like Brittany Griner. It's really uncomfortable.
Well, she is 3-4 years older than her, something like that.
She doesn't look 3-4 years older is a thing. She looks like she's in her 20s is the weird part.
Yeah, she's
it's supposed to be. Wow. They're living rough.
Wow.
So they ride the carousel.
Put a picture of her next to Brittany Griner and
Also,
tell me that's not the same person.
This carousel absolutely sucks. These horses don't go up and down or anything.
Nope.
They sit there.
So
And
they
here's
have,
another-
do they have a dam too that's powering their city that all this electricity could easily just be turned on?
Well, here's the other thing that I thought was weird about this. They were drinking, right, this whole time. And let's assume, again, because this is a post-apocalyptic world, they don't have a lot of opportunities where they can just steal a bottle of alcohol and start drinking, right? Not only that, but let's assume, too, that they have not been on something like a carousel before, which most people, the first time they go on, will make you nauseous. So shouldn't these girls be on the verge of more or less puking after this?
Mm-hmm.
And also, as we established earlier, in a post-apocalyptic world, unless you're in a completely secure place, getting inebriated is probably not the best thing.
Correct. Not a good idea. Again, and this is far from fucking secure. But they're children sneaking drinks at the park. I hated this episode so much.
Clearly
so they get on the
They're dragging me
carousel.
to the middle of the apocalypse where zombies are and making noise and boozing me up. Clearly,
it's fine. Everything's fine.
We all do with those we love. We booze them up, dragging us in the middle of like where the alligators are or whatever.
Yeah, to show you how much I care about you, I'm going to put you in extreme danger.
Look at Nosferatu's comment there.
Right.
Which
Mm-hmm.
oh god damn it, Nos! Nos! What's wrong with you?
I would say a lot.
They're children, Nosferatu.
So anyway,
World coming to.
They
which Vex have you seen a recent photo of Brittany Griner? All the dreads are gone. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and she's got her Adam's apple back and all that stuff. Yep. Yep.
For the love of her Adam's apple.
God, I love you. You're awesome.
So they fuck around,
and not find out yet.
And this is where she gets the pun book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before this scene, and I don't have the thing. They're playing Mortal Kombat loudly because it's fucking Mortal Kombat and it's an arcade, which is, by the way, fucking loud. So you pan off the scene here to behind a wall, and you got dead zombie bro kind of smashed into the wall like they do after they've been there for a minute. But he's been dormant because it's been fucking quiet, and now they're making all the noise in the world. So Twitchy is going to start to wake up.
There were 3 things I noticed about this scene. Okay, 1. So Riley, we find out, has been camping here for a while, right? So how did she not know that because he was huge, he's veined out and everything, right?
Yeah.
So not hard to miss. Okay. Second of all, notice how they're playing Mortal Kombat, which, I mean, I played it a little bit because my brother had it, right? But that's typically a more male geared game, right? Just everything about it, even the character designs. You find that the dude with the mushroom guy, right? He's conveniently in a girl's doll store as well, which I thought was interesting. It's just like, oh, they're very masculine females, so they're going to ignore anything that's remotely feminine, and that's it's a very light connection there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Nice.
Yeah,
these are all good fucking
point. And Roman, on this particular scene you have there, so this one single shot and scene is the entire point of this 45-minute excursion into storytelling nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
This one scene right here.
And there was one more thing.
The book.
Sorry. The mushroom guy had a bunch of veins, which, remember, we had learned in an earlier episode, which has been conveniently forgotten since, that those veins can connect to other mushroom guys.
Mm-hmm. It's all connected.
Maybe he was the lone mushroom on the pizza. So
it's all connected.
So the game ends. They make a lot more noise. Riley makes her go into this room. She shows her her pun book. Then she tells a bad joke, which I'm not even going to bother with. And she's looking around and she finds the bombs that Riley's been making.
Shield wall. Goddamn shield wall.
What happened now? I don't see it.
P5 I smell the blood of lesbians.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, well, damn it.
The lesbians, the rise of lesbians.
Fresh lesbians too. These are inexperienced ones.
Scissor me timbers.
They're getting their lesbian cherries popped.
Sometimes it gets beyond even my control, folks.
This is the greatest stream ever.
This public service now brought to you by Roman of the Empire.
Remember me, well, friends. So they get the stupid joke book. They start poking around. She finds the bombs, and the bigger girl, Riley,
fucking cannoli.
This is why it was so important that we saw Ellie get that tampon box later on.
Right? We have to see. We have to see the feminine hygiene for the lesbians.
Maybe you're right. The feminine hygiene product reminds her of our first girlfriend.
There you go.
God damn it.
Goddamn, that is just.
So anyway, she finds the bombs, and
which
and
are
Ellie
hidden
gets
under
kind
a
of
dish
pissed.
towel, by the way. Anyone could
Right.
have found those.
Yeah, so they're not hidden very well. They have a moment. They start, and she explains that she's got to go to Atlanta. That's where she's been stationed. She wanted to take her with her.
Go right off into the lesbian sunset.
Whatever. I forget
Ride the
what the
wave
lady's
together,
name.
you know.
What was her name? Monique.
Marlene.
Marlene.
Right.
Said no. You're not taking your little buddy with you. They dance around in masks for a while, which I found strange and I didn't understand.
A lot of this episode, by the way, is like straight from the DLC. So those masks that they end up dancing around in, those are the exact same ones that they wear in the DLC.
Like I said,
Really?
there's a lot of things that didn't. Just
Yeah,
didn't
the
make
clown
sense
and the wolf
to me.
one. Yeah.
I would just like to know where they found a Spirit Halloween store open year round, because that would be amazing.
That's because that's like a weird item. I don't know where you're finding that in your standard mall. But then Ellie's like, don't go, and Riley's like, okay. And then zombie guy bursts into the room.
Hold on. You're missing a very critical plot point in which they decide to, like, for some reason they decide to spend like a good 3 minutes showing us them dancing on a very flimsy glass countertop with these masks on. And if anything, I was expecting the zombie to come out here because it's like, I
wish it had. I wish the zombie had come out much earlier in the episode.
Right, because the music is going, their sight, like their peripherals are all blocked by the mask. This would have been a very interesting time for it to happen.
I'm with
It would have been a more
one.
appropriate time.
Second that the power went on in the mall, the zombie should have come out.
Yeah, that's also true. Anyway, the zombie bursts in and bites them. That's the nutshell.
I watched over that scene twice because
you never see a spot where they get bit.
Neither of them.
Yeah, the underplayed bite. So Ellie, while the zombie's on top of Riley,
That
Ellie
zombie
stabs
was
the thing in the
homophobic.
head. Clearly,
racist. It bit the black one first.
Right.
The homophobic, racist zombie. That's what the mushrooms will do to you kids.
Conveniently a white male mushroom as well.
Right.
Well, I think all of them are. So they both discover their bits. Riley is like, well, we can take the easy way out with the gun, or we can just kind of ride the crazy.
This is another moment where there was a missed opportunity, by the way, because after this, it cuts back to the present, right?
Right.
But how do we find out what happened to Riley? How does Ellie find out that she's immune?
Right.
Also, you don't know. I mean, you only know that this obviously took place very shortly before she got picked up by Marlene. These
What happened
events,
to Riley,
the
though?
events
That's-
here, obviously, I mean, maybe Marlene came looking. We just don't know, what the fuck happened here.
I think
Um,
what happens is that Ellie doesn't go to anybody, and more than 2 days pass, and then she like wanders the streets or something, and then they find her, and they're like, "Oh crap, you're bit," and she's like, "Well, I got bit 5 days ago or whatever," and they're like, "Wait a second, 5 days ago, you
right.
should have already turned. Maybe there's something special about you." So then they take her in, chain her to the radiator, and monitor her for like a whole month or whatever it was they did. That's when they're like, "Okay, she's immune. This is what we've been looking for. Let's get our contacts going."
But again, she's right there with Riley, and this scene is implying that they're going to be inseparable. So at some point, Riley would turn and try and attack her. So,
right. So they never say what happened to Riley. Did the Fireflies kill her? Is that what happened?
So this would have been nice for them to at least show like how does Ellie deal with it afterwards, because it's implied that she's a very lonely girl and this was her only friend, right?
And
so
she doesn't know. She also doesn't know she's immune at this point.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
this is just regular emotion stuff right now.
Another missed opportunity to help us get to know Ellie better, to understand why she acts like a crazy little cunt so much, right? Get us to understand the character a little bit more. But they skip over all of that as well.
They just wanted you to see them scissoring at some point in time.
Yeah,
I guess
two minors scissoring at some point. Yeah.
They had to put this in so they could get their story across or whatever, and to let us know, that's the way Ellie rolls. And but maybe they'll address it in another episode. Which I've seen happen where I've had questions like with Discount Governor Karen. I was like, how's she in charge? And they addressed it in the next episode. So maybe this will be something that they bring up and explain.
I hope that they don't, because I don't actually give a fuck anymore. Is what they've done to me here.
From the trailers that I've seen of the next episode,
don't talk to trailers. Don't talk to trailers. I don't ever watch trailers because I don't ever want to know what I'm getting into with episodic television. With movies, I do it. With television, I don't. I very intentionally don't want to know because I don't want to stop watching, and I may very well. Because right now I'm at the teetering point. I'm already 7 episodes into this fucking show, and they threw, like I said, 4 through 6, despite the issues within those episodes, I was still fine with watching the show. I was like, okay, cool. And then they fucked me with episode 7. And I mean, the last minute of this fucking show, they drop out. You go back to the present. Ellie suddenly has an epiphany. She gets a needle and thread and starts sewing Joel up. The fuck she is. She is going to kill him in the state that he's in, either through infection, internal bleeding. There are a myriad of things that her just sewing him closed doesn't fix. That's so fucking stupid.
Right. She
Bad
goes
writing.
through the house and she's tearing it apart looking for stuff. And I'm thinking she's looking for like a first aid kit, like a legit one. She's going to put it's got like mercurochrome or something in it. And she's going to put it on his wound and use a bandage and say, nah, just some dirty needle and thread I found the bottom of the floor.
But, and it's not just, but that thread is like sewing. That is not going to hold a wound together.
No, that's
especially right where that is.
Together. No.
What I thought
it's terrible.
If she found a thing of super glue, that would have been better.
Well, it would have been better, but the wound itself was too large for super glue kind of.
Yeah.
I've done super glue fixes.
I have as well.
So they did not have
a big gaping hole in your abdomen.
If she would have done some kind of like way to like
cauterized it.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. She had like a flat iron or something, and she was able to like.
My son was like, they should pour some gunpowder into that wound and drop a match in. He's gonna be real pissed off, but it's gonna be better than what she did.
Something like that. Also, to sew that with a straight needle. I don't know how she did it, but
poorly again. So it went from, and that was the only other scene that really meant anything, but it was so badly done that, and I know the show's going to continue for 2 more episodes. God, obviously. I don't know how Joel actually survives this.
And that was my next question. It is 10 episodes.
I don't know.
Right?
They left us
9
with this kind of
episodes.
steaming pile. Yeah, there's only two more episodes.
I mean, after being sewn up by Ellie, I might just say, you know what, take a 9-iron to my head, please.
Just do it. And I hope we don't get back to, that character.
I have a question.
She who shall not be named.
We're gonna.
I know we're gonna get there because they're doing season 2, and they've already said that they're gonna base it off of part 2 of the game, which everybody, as far as I know, hated. I'm not a gamer, but I just know what I hear.
Unless they significantly change the story, or they're the best actor and actresses you've ever seen, or whatever, the show's gonna tank. There's no way you can't.
The show, it's tanking is the problem. It's episodes 1 and 2, I liked. Not everybody liked episodes 1 and 2, but I enjoyed episodes. God damn it! I liked them. Episode 3, we've had our lengthy discussion on. Episodes 4 through 6, fine. Then fucking episode 7, again, just like, boom, off the fucking rails.
And
Joel's
and
it is completely unrealistic now. More unrealistic than fucking mushroom head zombies.
And from what I heard, didn't the actress say, "Don't like it, get over
Yes,
it"?
she did.
This has happened 3 times now, by the way.
Yep.
There was an article
in this show alone.
No, but like there was an article that came out like earlier this week, not long after this episode, and the showrunner was saying like, "Oh, we put like basically we prioritize this kind of shit over the actual plot." Ellie says, "If you don't like it, don't watch it." Craig Mazin says, "If you don't like it, don't watch it." And now Brittany Reiner says, "If you don't like it, don't watch it."
And again, I go back to the showrunner, who is a big fan of Anita Sarkeesian.
Mm-hmm.
And
are you talking about Neil Druckmann?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
He is a huge fan and big supporter. And if you're in the gaming world, you know who.
They might as well go all in and hire Frost to do something for season 2.
She might show up. Who knows? Maybe she's.
Basically, all of like the second game is Ellie scissoring people. Like it's just her and her scissoring adventures. Literally, the second game. It's just
and Frost has and Frost her schedule has opened up a bit.
Yeah, it has opened up quite a bit. Yeah.
So that's where we are. We're with Joel dying in a cabin, Ellie sewing him up, not doing a great job. We had a useless flashback episode of Ellie's sordid love life. We got to go to Jackson, which looks like a fine place to live. Kansas City, communism. Which apparently barbecue is no longer on the menu. And that's our journey from episode 4 to 7. Of that entire journey, my favorite scene was still the Native American couple that made fun of them at the beginning of episode 6. That was my favorite. That was my out of all of everything we've just talked about. That was my favorite scene. I thought that was a brilliant scene. I would rather hang out with them for 4 episodes, just watching them bicker, than a lot of the content we got out of this, which is too bad. There's a lot of potential in this show that I don't think is ever going to reach the level that we as fans would like to see, because the writers and the showrunner and the producers and all of these people have their agenda items first, which are blocking what would otherwise be a good show. That's my take on it.
This show is fitting a pattern of a lot of other shows like Boba Fett, Mandalorian, whatever, where it's one or 2 episodes of like actual meat and story, and the rest is all filler nonsense that you could totally take out the story and it wouldn't change one thing. Kind of like the whole Ant-Man movie.
The whole problem with the book of Boba Fett is the best 2 episodes were not about Boba Fett.
Right, but
it was the Mandalorian episodes.
But what I'm saying is
it was a side story, but it took over the main story.
Right.
No, that's not what happened there, Roman. The book of Boba Fett was so bad, Favreau canceled the last episodes and used episodes from Mandalorian season 3 he already filmed to replace them.
Yeah, it was just. But what I'm saying is that for some reason,
I
modern
accept this.
writer rooms, which is also, I think, a problem where you have like 20 people writing in one episode.
Yes, I fucking
is
hate
a
that.
mess. But they
Twilight Zone
can't.
never did that. Star Trek never did that.
Right. They can't make an episodic story. Now, I will say this, that if you look at the game and then you look at the show and you see where the two really cross over well, I will say it's one of the better adaptations of a game to a show that I've seen. If they would have stuck a little bit more to it and really sees episode 3 and episode 7 where it kind of, I can forgive episode 7 a little more because that's actual DLC in the game that does do this story. Whether
all for kicking Shieldwall off the show.
It's
No,
all,
I'm joking.
it might be bad, but at least it was part of the game. And
right. It's game accurate.
Right.
Even though
and
I hate it.
I don't necessarily have a problem with
So was the Street Fighter live action movie that doesn't give any excuse.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. But
Shinatsky, you are exactly right. Arcane is, I think, the best game adaptation.
I am unfamiliar with both the game and
Arcane
any
is
adaptation.
Arcane is fabulous. If you want to see proper scissoring, you watch that show.
But what I'm talking about,
I don't want to see any scissoring.
Is that if you've played the game and you watch this show, you can definitely see where the scenes line up, and that's just it. That's what pissed me off about it. They can do that so well. Why can't they do the rest of the show?
You know why? Because they need to insert the other stuff.
What are you doing, Matt? Are you showing us season 2?
Oh
Is that what
God!
it's gonna be?
It almost looks like a mushroom.
Let's on that delightful note. Let's first of all, if you are still watching in 2 weeks. Can I hit you guys up for the 16th to come back so we can do our wrap up?
Heck yeah.
Count me in.
Okay.
Well, there might be
if we survive the next couple episodes.
I got a question for you guys. Who do not reveal the ending to Roman because I know he doesn't know the ending of the game. Just do you think, based on if you know the ending of the game, do you think they'll actually have the balls to do it in this show?
I think they will. They have to. They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice.
Yeah, they have to.
The fans will eat them alive unless it's somehow even better that they write some better ending. Which I can't see.
I doubt they can do better than what they did in the game. That ending, what they've
done so far has. Maybe it's just me. I think video games. I don't know. Have we had a great? I'm not a gamer, so you just have to forgive me in that. And I know. Has there been a good adaptation of a video game?
Okay, I have never played the game. I have never played the game, but to put the show,
Halo wasn't
to put the show on Netflix, Arcane. Just from a story standpoint, was amazing.
Okay. All right, and that's not. I mean, we're not, and we don't. This show is not amazing. This show could be amazing. The show could be fantastic. The show isn't fantastic.
Well,
the show has good moments, a lot of mid, and a lot of what the fuck. So it's too bad.
Well,
so anyway, let's wrap up then. Just because for time's sake, we went over a little bit further than I'd planned on with this. So. Shieldwall, what do you got coming up, buddy?
Well, thanks for having me on. Sorry, I may have derailed the stream a few times, but
the show derailed the stream. Shieldwall, the show did it.
But yeah,
you led into a good area, so it's okay.
Even though some of these episodes weren't that good, it's really fun to talk about them with everybody on the panel here. Again, Kombucha Mushroom Matt. I always learn so much when you're on here. It's great having Untamed Mando, Joker voice, bringing the voice, and Vex. It was great having you on here. I learned so much about the diva thing or whatever. So, yeah. So I got that. Hey, it's educational. And thanks for having me on, Roman. I don't have anything coming up other than if you want me to come back for one of your other shows, then I'll be there.
Well,
thanks for having me on.
Funny story. So yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there in a second because you'll want to be on. You'll want to be on the next one. The next one's going to be pretty legit.
It's all scissoring all the time.
Yes. No. Mando, save me. What do you got coming up?
You want me, the monkey wrench thrower, to save you?
These are desperate times.
Desperate times call for desperate scissoring.
God. Fuck my life.
So you want me to say something like educational or
no educational. No educational.
Woman.
Tell us about the types of diva cups, please, because we gave a specific one to Ellie.
Different lanes. If you want to know what's going on my channel, I'm Untamed Mando on Twitch, and I stream tomorrow morning.
There we go. Fuck. Vex.
Where you can watch all of the scissoring.
Vex Electronica. What do you got coming up?
I have too fucking much coming up. I'm going to be on Cannoli's channel on Friday with the missus for her female perspective. I'll be on Wookie Be Bad's Something Sunday on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll have a video coming out this weekend, a video game review on Sunday, hopefully. And I will be on Cannoli's channel on Monday for Mischief Mayhem Movie. We're doing John Wick month for March into anticipation of John Wick 4. And then I'll be back here then for the Alien panel next week as well on your channel.
Yep. Right on.
What game are you reviewing?
Atomic Heart.
Okay, cool.
Oh, that game looks like it's a lot of fun. Even as a non-gamer, that game looks like it's a lot of fun. So cool. Joker voice. What do you got coming up, buddy? You got stuff like every day.
Well, scissor me timbers, me heart is.
Damn it. I say that every time I play Sea of Thieves now.
Tomorrow morning, my review of Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1 drops. And if I must say, it's the greatest review ever. It's wonderful. I did it on myself. No work. It's amazing. Wonderful. Check it out. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And then Friday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be over on Legion Talk for Friday night's Royal Rumble. And I got nothing planned as of right now for the weekend except sleeping, which is always a good thing.
Right on.
And then what? The Wookiee. The Wookiee. If you want me on, just send me a link, dude, for Sunday. I'll be there. And then the Monday, last week's news now. Any little pop culture news you might have missed, I give you a little update, and of course my little hot take opinions of it, which everyone loves so much. I'm just saying.
I almost thought you were about to say My Little Pony.
Everybody likes your Kevin Feige moment in the show.
Hey, you good over there? How are the knee pads doing? There you go.
And Kevin Feige is saved for one more day, folks. Kombucha, Mushroom, Matt, the Unbearable 73, the Thad that shouldn't be. What do you got coming up, buddy?
Roman, I have gifts for you. Using my advanced scissoring skills, I've made an R and a really cheap Italy.
Advanced scissoring skills.
Yeah, he watched episode 7 4 or 5 times just to get it right.
He binge watched episode 7 to make sure he understood all of the scissoring techniques.
Well, I learned advanced scissoring techniques
my body
from Wheel of Prime. Remember, that was a whole season of scissoring.
Oh yeah, that's true.
This was like the greatest stream ever.
The laughter helped me clear my lungs. Okay, what do I got going on? In 2 weeks, obviously, we'll be back for round 19 of scissoring The Last of Us.
Never.
Yes, we will assemble the circling firing squad one more time.
Never-ending scissors.
The worst movie ever, by the way.
I am
What?
What?
Yes.
Oh, Roman, you.
That's all. I know. I have a lot of hot takes on movies.
I'm with Roman on that one.
Oh,
I do. It's my way.
What did you
sorry,
dislike
Matt.
now,
Matt,
Roman?
I know.
What
The
movie
death
did
of
you
Roman.
dislike now, Roman? I missed it.
Never ending story.
Oh my god! I might have to scissor some never-ending story figurines next week.
I hate me some never-ending story, but that's neither here nor there.
But anyway, so I'm actually on the verge of putting content on my channel out again after 2 months of virtually none of it. So there should be some videos coming out on Unbearable 73 over the next few days. On my friend OBG70's channel, astronomy channel, the Broke Astronomer, we're starting what might be a weekly sort of science-oriented woo-woo show. We'll be talking about the geomagnetic flips this Sunday on the channel. So what else do I going on? I'm still trapped in New Jersey. Help me! You know,
Maybe the power of scissoring will release you.
Joker voice can't help you
The
legally. You can't go to the state.
Fuck, man. Anyway, so chat, thank you so much for hanging in there with us tonight. You guys were fantastic. So much funny stuff coming out of the chat tonight. You guys were great. And panel, despite myself, I learned things tonight. Some things I didn't want to learn, but I learned them anyway. And please make sure, for those of you who are watched us live and those of you who are doing the rewatch, make sure to check out everybody's channel. I have all their information, their YouTube and their Twitter in the description of the show. All fantastic content creators, both informative and entertaining. So with that, we're going to do a little palate cleanse on the way out because I think we might need it. And this has been Roman of the Empire signing off. Be kind.
Doodles!
Good evening. My name is Bill. I don't always drink wine and shoot fungal zombies, but when I do, I like to have Apothic Rosé, the official pairing wine of the fungal zombie apocalypse. Well, I hate to drink and go shoot, but duty calls.